Nancy.
I'm talking about
over here.
This is another reason why young men don't commit, because the women are giving them everything.
But I'm saying we're talking about Chelsie.
Okay.
We're talking about Chelsie.
Okay.
I don't know why you keep creating like fake people. Like we're talking about one person who has this one testimony.
In general.
Who's
but I appreciate your stance
if you're gonna
for
give
men,
me, if you're gonna give me the milk,
we'll say that.
But she's
We're not giving anybody milk.
No, I'm not talking about you.
But we are talking about milk. Back then, it was like you had a tattoo. You were, you know,
you were a
in,
heathen.
you know, yeah. So I was like, she's like, so what? Just do it. So that's when I got, this was my first like below the arm thing. So by the time I get this, I made a decision. If I'm going to go below my arm where everyone can see or anywhere else, I'm going to go with the highest quality tattoo artists. So my tattoos aren't cheap. So that's why I'm not just like covered, because that would cost like $100,000, you know? So it's more of like a, you know, if I can scrounge up some money here and there, and like I got a little fund, and I just put, you know, $50 here, $50 there, and then when I feel like it's time, you know, then I, you know, or for Father's Day, I'll grab something, tell Ashlee, you know, what's in her budget, I'll throw it towards it. So that's when I got her on me and stuff like that. So,
So what age would you let your son or daughter get a tattoo?
18.
18?
I mean, I got mine at 17, but yeah, 17, 18.
Okay.
Yeah. Depends on what he wants and the meaning behind it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, if he wants to get the Wu-Tang Clan logo, then the answer like, no, you know, but
Probably not.
But yeah, far be it for me to tell him. I'd be a huge
What do you think
hypocrite
about the one
unless
I want? Do you
regretted it.
think that it'd be too controversial? Because I might ask.
FYI, we don't know what you want. But
I don't think
Okay,
it's
this is what I'm gonna get.
controversial.
Tell me
I don't
now,
think-
if you see me preaching up there with this on my arm.
Are you gonna get it on your forearm?
Oh, you're talking about your tattoo. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha,
It might
gotcha,
be
gotcha.
controversial if you put it on your forearm.
Oh my goodness.
I knew it was gonna be something.
What do you got? Yeah.
Can you show us?
People
What do
don't
you
know.
think?
The podcast allowed to
me
know.
why.
I mean, you know, yeah. If you
Tell
go
me
into the
why.
reason why, and you know, you've endured a lot of trauma in your life, so I think there's
I'll
certain
tell you why. I'll
allowances.
tell you why. And this is
You're
very
Wait, do
deep.
you want to describe what you just showed us?
Okay, so it's the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and it's him forcing the smile at the end of the scene. And you know, that movie came out in the pit of my despair when I had a noose tied around my neck for a year. And I had a 15-page suicide letter that I would add to every week. I was ready. I was ready to go. So that movie came out, and it was a different side of Joker than we've seen. Now, when you think about evil, philosophically, the question is it nature or nurture that makes somebody evil, right? Are they just born evil, or do they become evil? And so Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is a picture of somebody who became evil and a psychopath based upon childhood trauma. Whereas Heath Ledger's Joker is somebody who became evil and a psychopath just for the sake of being evil. So Heath Ledger's Joker is nature. He's evil just for the sake of being evil. Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is nurture. He became evil due to trauma and therefore. And so, but the thought that really spoke to me was that people who have endured the greatest trauma typically are either one of two paths they take. Either they become some of the greatest psychopaths in history, or they become like the greatest lovers in history. And so how you respond to trauma, you know, can dictate whether you become evil or good.
Yeah.
And so...
And the extremisms of sides. Right.
Yeah, the extremes. So it was just kind of
because so much passion compels so much emotion, and so it has to be expelled. Philosophically, it has to be expelled one or two way, either in great beauty or great harm.
Yeah,
right?
and every psychopath thinks that what they're doing is good. They have a justification for it. So with Heath Ledger, he thought he was doing good. He was eliminating the corrupt elites of his society. So, anyways, it's just it's just relating to that trauma and what the potential of allowing that trauma to either destroy you or make you better. And so, for me, it's a reminder.
Who says that? Kelly Clarkson. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's Kanye too,
Bro.
That's his biggest song, Stronger.
Stronger, yeah.
Whatever
Does he
kill
say
you
what-
make you strong.
Okay.
Does it say that in the song?
Not, don't kill me. You can only make me
yeah.
stronger.
Yeah, you're right,
I
you're
need
right.
you to hurry up now so I can't get much stronger. When he met with Trump, that's the
that's
song he played. Trump was like, play me one of your songs. And
He played Stronger.
that's the song he played
Did he
to
dance
Trump.
to it too?
I'll
He was
play,
like,
Trump was such a boomer. He's like,
no,
he didn't
I
even
mean
care about
Kanye.
it.
Kanye does his little pop lock stuff when he dances. Kanye's dance stuff is hilarious.
Anyways, so it's like, but it's like that. It's also like a Darth Vader sort of a thing where it's like, you can allow when suffering and trauma comes into your life, you can allow fear, anger. Like Yoda says, fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. And so I felt that in the trauma that I experienced.
Yeah.
I felt that temptation to go into hatred, to give into my anger, to give into my bitterness, and basically want to watch the world burn. Mm-hmm. Now, I would never, I'm a gentle guy. I'm a gentle spirit. I would never hurt anybody. But
The emotions.
but that, like, being able to relate to that
Yeah, yeah.
was very powerful. And so that movie really spoke to me
Yeah.
in that sense, in that season.
But you would I think
think it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of a movie.
So you would get one on your forearm. Is that where you thinking you would get a tattoo?
I'm just floating
Talking out
ideas. But my biggest thing was, well, I'm a pastor. People think I'm crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've
would
all
they
come to
leave the
that
church?
conclusion. Yeah. I don't think there's any harm in something we already, are aware
best
of.
way possible.
So
What do you get when you get a mentally ill loner with a society that's abandoned him?
is that in Joker?
Yes.
I was
is he
like,
talking
what
about
is
him?
happening?
But wow, powerful thought.
People right now are listening to the podcast
yeah.
going like, what is going on?
what's
What
gonna
did we drop?
happen?
Hey, everybody, welcome to People's
Listen,
Podcast.
no.
Down the Lane Podcast.
Because he says that. He says, that's what he said. What do you get when you get a mentally ill loner with a society that's abandoned him? What if, instead of taking it out on society and doing evil and killing people,
Yeah.
what do you get with a mentally ill loner with a society that's abandoned him and instead choosing to do good? You want to know what you get?
What?
You get a prophet.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I see
Think
it.
about it.
I see it.
Think about it.
I was able to come to
Every
that
prophet
conclusion
in
pretty
the
fast.
Bible, every
Joaquin
prophet
Phoenix
in the
stuff, I couldn't
Bible,
correlate. I didn't watch it
every
enough.
prophet in the Bible was a mentally ill loner with
for
a
sure.
society that abandoned him.
That's
Yeah.
John the
For sure.
Baptist, locust and wild honey, living in a cave.
Yep. Caleb Mason.
Anyways,
There you go.
there's your thought.
actually
There's your
good.
thought for
There's
today.
the thought. The thought of the day. It's a good thought.
good.
I like it.
I think it's a great thought.
Everybody, welcome to the podcast today. Today is episode. What is it, Nancy? You knew it.
What did I say? 46?
We're in the 40s, everybody.
We're in
We're
the 40s.
tailing into
We're in the
52, which means we'd be doing this for officially 1 year. We will have a 1 year celebration episode. We'll figure out what we're going to do for it. But
Yeah, a party.
Yeah. So we're officially almost 1 year old. Feels nice. We got some big announcements we're going to do when we get closer to 1 year, some other things. But today we got me and Caleb, People's Padre, in the house with Nancy and Chelsie and
What's up?
Verlon, a.k.a. Jermaine. Phil's in the house. What's up, Philip? And then Gabe. Gabe in the house on the ones and twos. Is so good to see everybody. I had some news. Some people know, but I thought it was pretty cool. It's always cool when stuff like this happens. I had a friend visiting me who's a pastor, and he has 2 children in their 20s. His son posted on Instagram. The wife was telling us, like, thank you so much for what you guys do with Beyond the Letter. And I'm like, oh, why? His son posted one of our clips on Instagram. His son didn't know who we were. Like, just one of our normal, like, I don't know which clip it was. And then his dad DMs his son, who's in his 20s, who I don't know what his relationship with the Lord does or doesn't look like. But his dad goes, you know, that's my friend, right? That's his podcast. He's a pastor. So it's like, no way. they're pastors, they're Christians. I love their stuff. It comes across my feed all the time, and I always just repost it.
Wow.
Like, this podcast is so dope. And he's like, I always thought something was special about those guys, or unique, whatever word they told me that they used. And he goes, I didn't know that they were Christians, because obviously if you listen to the full podcast, you get we're Christians very fast. But if you kind of follow our social media, we've purposely made social media to be more of that outreach to bring people into conversation. So we, clip it to purposely be trollful and sound a certain way and all that stuff like that to get people to want to listen to it. So that someone's like, no, I love these guys' Instagram. And the mom was like, his wife was just basically like, thank you guys so much. I get what you're doing. Because not everyone gets us. Like some people like, what are they doing? Are they just two guys who want to talk and they bring people on, and are they building something for themselves, or what are they doing? And do they think they're celebrities? Like, because it's easy you could build that frame very fast, right? But then you get we get great feedback all the time, but then you get great feedback from outside, not just like our church, but outside, and someone saying, my son watches you. Thank you for what you're doing. I get it, because he don't even lean into Christian content like that. And you guys are just kind of, you're something there that's constant for him. And he likes the values that you share on social media and all that stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about the podcast, because even,
that's
Chelsie
very cool.
and I, we're on the side, but even though we're on the side, there's still people that reach out. There's a woman that reached out like a long time ago, and now she's doing a Bible study with me. So it's just like really cool to see like the connections, that the podcast brings others closer to Jesus. So that's really awesome.
It's cool. Yeah, we said from the beginning it'd be like a front door to faith, and we meant that, and we've stayed true to that, and we're not trying to get mixed up too much into the in-depth faith spectrum, which in the future we'll come out with stuff like that, but the in-depth faith stuff, because there's a lot of stuff out there. There's other pastors doing, and I even have pastor friends doing great stuff in Bible study stuff, or going really in-depth to like Christian aspects, and sometimes we play with theological things, but say we're talking about end times, like that's even secular people are talking about end times, when will the world end, and all that stuff. So we still stay consistent in that front door, which I think to some people, if they really want us to sit in that faith zone, then it can make them feel uncomfortable where we sit, which is that front door. Like we want anyone. Even though me and Caleb can scuba dive at any time, but we want to snorkel with everybody, right? We want anyone to be able to put on some goggles, talk with us, agree with us, disagree with us,
And to add to that, we gotta critique, but I just kind of want to address it because it kind of connects with what we're saying. There was a guy who critiqued us and said, well, if you're into conspiracies, or the implication was if you're into what we talk about, right? The tinfoil hat. Now, a lot of what I do is performance art, like a lot of it. Like if I'm with my wife, I'm with my kids, I'm not like, blah, 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 I'm not, I don't act the way necessarily I act now. It's, it's, I kick it up a notch. So, but they go, the tinfoil hat thing, that's just performance art. Well, I'm not walking around outside
just like,
with the tinfoil
doing that
hat.
Stuff? It's great.
It's a show. This is a show, right?
And you have so many fans. You have so many people.
But this guy goes, oh yeah, people into conspiracies like you wearing tinfoil hats, if they're single, they'll be virgins until Jesus comes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, wait a second. Okay, so let's analyze that statement for a second. First of all, the conspiracies that we cover, they're not even really conspiracies. They're ideas and things actually relevant, affecting people's lives. Yeah. What's so conspiratorial about analyzing, questioning vaccines? What's conspiratorial about, analyzing geopolitics or questioning
aliens.
Circumcision? But that's the thing. We specifically did not go into aliens because we want to talk about things that are actually affecting people. Yeah. Discussions of the end times. We're not talking about flat Earth. We're not talking about these crazy esoteric conspiracies that has no effect on people. Yeah. I'm intentionally wanting to steer away from those. We didn't talk about aliens. We don't talk about flat Earth. And also, so I just want to because you do get that sometimes. It's like, oh, you're just into these conspiracies. You're incels or you're virgins. It's like, but we're talking about some of the things that some of the most successful people in our country are talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
We're talking about issues that are in mainstream. So we're talking about stuff that Joe Rogan talks about. We're talking about stuff that Patrick Bet-David talks about. We're talking about stuff that half of America believes in and is talking about in regards to questioning the government, questioning the medical system, questioning these things.
Education system.
Yeah. So, I just wanted to come at that because
I think it's just
we're
silly when
not,
people use downgraded humor to try to expose something, like whether someone whatever, you virgin or this, or obviously the stuff on our social media that gets that's a lot of that stuff's gone viral. So now you're just getting you're just getting like people's 2 cents in, right? But then more so on our YouTube, that's more of a dedicated audience because that's where you find. And so those comments I read more serious and I take more serious. And so most people tend to change their tune the moment you start responding, like, oh, well, like I didn't, or they delete it. Then once they saw it, because people are really bold behind the keyboard, which is why I'm always like, you could call in the show. I'll put you on, share your thoughts, like share an opinion that takes, 2 hours to wrestle out, and see that you don't, sound a little crazy sometimes, right? Like we so far have, probably almost 100 hours worth of conversation that I'm sure within the 100 hours, like we do legitimately sound crazy on some things, but that's life. Like that's what you do with your friends at lunch and dinner, and you're like, you follow up with later conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think it's just,
well, it's just to assume that so women aren't interested in any of these topics, like questioning these things and everything, because that's what that statement implies. And it's like we're not. My wife was actually the original conspiracy theorist, and I'll tell you why. So she was the first one I've ever met. Well, my dad kind of with his journey of cancer, but she was the first one to really question the medical system and authorities, because we did not give any of our kids one vaccine. Yeah, from baby,
this is like
from
12
infancy.
years ago,
Yeah, so she was reading literature on this stuff before I even knew what a conspiracy theory was.
Yeah,
and I'm not necessarily. This is just what we did for our family. I'm not giving this medical advice, but she questioned the authorities and said, well, the authorities don't have my best interest in mind or my children's best interest in mind. It's motivated by money. It's motivated by these other things. And so that could be considered a conspiracy, right? Questioning vaccines for infants.
Oh, yeah.
Robert Kennedy Jr. has been doing that his entire career, and he's called a conspiracy theorist. So to assume that these conspiracy theories and talking about them is somehow repugnant to women by saying, well, hey, men, if you believe in these things, you're going to be a virgin your whole life. Well, no, if you believe in these things, you're going to have sons that have intact penises, and you're going to, be a little more wise in how you're going to be a little more wise in how you navigate this world.
This may be people's first episode, but Caleb's anti-circumcision.
Okay.
Just want to make that
clear.
And that was a great conversation, by the way.
Oh.
I had a friend reach out and send me products of skincare that has babies.
So somebody went deep
absolutely
diving.
She was like, I'm so glad you guys talked about this. It's not talked about enough. I have a son and this and this and that. And she literally texts me. She's texted me the pictures and she texts me the link of how much it costs. And let me tell you, her friend actually also buys the product actually. And she'll say this product is like the holy grail. It keeps her skin flawless. But so now she made her aware. She's like, well, now I'm making you aware that this product has obviously the baby's foreskin. Yeah, it says it in there. It says it in a different scientific term, but when you go into that term, it'll explain what it is.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, smooth skin.
Well, it's just a lot of vaccines are made with abortofetal cells.
Yeah.
So abortive, and so what a lot of pro-lifers
Yeah.
will say is like, before you take a vaccine, make sure it doesn't have any abortifetal cells and stuff like that. And so there's a lot of elements of stuff that we scientifically have no idea that we just
right.
And there's no desire to educate because they really don't. They don't want you to know what's in the kitchen.
And it's money. I mean, just
being
she
made
was
in the
saying like, a small 1 ounce was like, I think over $300 or something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
it was crazy.
I could imagine. Yeah, that stuff's wild.
Yeah. So anyhow, I was
Caleb's
just gonna say, great conversation.
Caleb's a
with
good
circumcision.
conspiracy theorist, man.
Yeah, we'll link that episode.
Well, hopefully I stay passionate and talk about things that actually affect people's lives. That's just what I wanted to make clear. Like, I'm not just in the clouds thinking about flat Earth and these things that have no bearing on our lives. What I'm saying is serious. Like, I know I'm kind of coming across kind of out there, kind of, but this is serious stuff that we need to be thinking about.
Sure.
How you think about the end times.
Well,
how
I think you should think about
you know,
everything. I think that's the problem with today is we get so uncomfortable with hearing and processing anything that's contradictory to what we already accept and what we already value, and so then we get shaky if something's like, I don't think I agree with that. Why don't you agree with it? And then you don't know. Then you just start getting there, and you either then lash out or you make a comment that isn't it isn't worded correctly because you're talking out of passion and anger like that. I see sometimes is like, I'll get a DM or a message. You could tell it just was frantically made out of being upset. Right. And then someone recently did that with one of our other things, very mad at us because what we said on, our live Beyond the Letter, and then really mad. We said something about prison system, and then I just immediately responded hey, I think you misworded us, heard us. Sorry. Here's what we said, and here's what we meant. And they were like, oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Now I understand. But the first time, I mean, it was just a pair. You guys are blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then it's like, hey, I hear you. I see. Oh, I didn't know you were going to see this. Oh, okay, thank you for clearing. They're like, now all of a sudden it's nice, you could tell, like, we just get so mad when we hear something that is contrary, that instead of like taking a deep breath, processing, maybe going and looking up or re-listening what they even say, like, let me re-listen to that, let me make sure I heard that right, and then if you did hear it right, then respond. It's just and not everyone's like this, but you tend to be the people who are most relationally chaotic tend to emotionally respond the most, their relationships are chaos is when you respond like that.
And it's that instant gratification that we want. We want to let our emotion, and all of a sudden we feel good for like 10 seconds or whatnot. So it's like we always want it so instantly.
And not speaking to that other person who commented that they're chaotic, but it's just that fact that when you say something, it's like, I don't like that, and I know more about it than they do. I'm angry rather than just, hey, man, I appreciate that's why I always respond. Thanks for sharing your thoughts.
You're so good about responding.
Thanks for sharing your thoughts. You just got to de-arm people. Hey, they appreciate your thoughts. Like, they want me to get mad back. I'm like, thank you so much for your thoughts. You're awesome. They just called me an idiot. I'm like, cool. They go ahead.
And I appreciate all disagreeing points of view, but when you do a low blow, well, then I feel more like I need to respond to it.
Yeah, you call someone an idiot or make the virgin comment or whatever. It's just like, then you're like, wow,
name calling, it's immature.
Why you're going pretty low on that one there, my friend.
Yeah.
And what we've joked about before is like, when we were saying it before we started filming, is like one of the things we do, because we're highly educated in the area of theology. Now, other areas is just geopolitics, whatever, then that's just us passion researching, right?
Yeah.
So then, we may know something, we may not. I'll be pretty, I may have a thought, but not economics. That's a passion thought. I don't have a degree in economics. I don't have years of, but like, we both went to like the Harvard of Bible schools. And so if we talk about faith and Bible, if it sounds like we're being fluffy or we're just kind of playing with an idea, it's because we're trying to hook people into the conversation. And I think what people don't realize is like if they try to respond thinking that we don't know what we're talking about, we can grab them and actually bring them down to 30,000 feet really fast if they want to do that, and then they're going to be overwhelmed. So, people are like, well, what about this? And you're like, well, if you want to go that deep, we can. I'll do it. And it happens in the DM sometimes. And they'll be, oh, I didn't know it. I didn't know anything about that. And you're like, yeah, that's what we do on the podcast. We try to sound, sound almost like, I don't know. I've been thinking about this. I mean, like Chelsie, the last End Times one. Well, what are you guys? I'm like, I could tell you, but what's the fun in it? Let's talk. And then it's like, but if somebody wants to come offline, like we can go deep, and I'll bring you down deep, especially in theology. We go there
and realize we've really thought about this. Like for me, I've really thought about this because if my seminary gets back to them that I'm questioning premillennialism, or I'm questioning Reformed theology, or I'm questioning women in ministry or gifts, if they hear this podcast, I'm blacklisted. So my seminary just flushed down the toilet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've given this a lot of thought to be able to be like, okay, I've questioned this enough to where, I'm willing to risk my 3 years of higher education. Sure. Because at the end of the day, I want the truth. I want to pursue the truth. And I'm willing to change my mind in order to get to the truth. Yeah. And in order to challenge presuppositions and biases and things that I previously believed with reason, with evidence, with experience, so.
I loved the woman's response in YouTube, which was great. Like, it's a great way to like either disagree or share your thoughts. She goes she says, I'm premillennial, I'm totally premillennial. I think I do a good job at sharing my faith, because one of our criticisms in there was like, premillennial thought is you have to share your faith, but really not too many premillennials live by that, right? I'm not saying everyone, but not too many, but she goes, so I think I do a good job at sharing my faith, but what I could do better at is being a disciple of Christ. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, great. That's what the conversation is meant for, even for us. Like, here's what I still believe, or here's what I think about it. Here's my 2 cents on it. I don't think I'm a bad soul winner. I think I'm a good soul winner. I think that's important to me, but being a disciple of Christ, I can evaluate in this conversation, hasn't been the biggest priority. It's like, great. That's all it's meant to do. It's like you walk away from each episode and thinking, including ourselves, how can I do better? How can I understand better? How can I think better? How can I stretch myself to process what I believe and how I believe it and stuff like that? So I thought her comment was awesome, and I even commented, thanks for sharing. I think that's dope. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and my biggest point in questioning it was I just feel like the fruit in that mindset wasn't that great in my life, maybe in your life, but like I talked about as a kid, like that paranoia, that trauma, that it just didn't produce really that much good fruit in my mind and in my life, to where when I started shifting, maybe there's this other possibility. Well, then the world became some more optimistic. I became more positive. I became better tempered.
I didn't have
as it relates to that.
I didn't have as much of the trauma. Definitely, I didn't have as much of the trauma and the fear, but I did get because I'm very pragmatic, and I have a great memory, so I could continually hear people like, get ready, mm-hmm. It's coming. It's almost like you're out in the ocean and you're trying to catch a wave, and you're like, get ready, Jesus coming back, and then the wave comes, we missed it. Finally I got like, just stop. Like, I'm cool. Like, I live my life every day as I'm ready, for his return. But this idea of not saying, he could return in any moment, to I believe it's going to happen on September 30th. It's like, that's a totally different frame rate of speaking. Someone just walked up to me and gave me the date of his return is sometime in November on a Sunday. And I'm looking at that. I'm like, man, Jesus says no man will know the day or hour. But let me tell everybody
how to be a prophet.
Premillennial overall, in my theological construct, I'm
going to tell, You know what? I just want to make it clear. Honestly, I am probably 60-40 with 60% leaning towards pre-mill still. I'm still holding on to my background and what I was right. So, 60-40. But I'll tell you guys how to be a prophet.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Let me tell you guys how to predict the future. So this is something I've noticed through empirical evidence and experience is that listen to the prophets, the biggest prophets on YouTube, the ones that are
I
on
love when you're passionate.
the ones that
about
are on Sid Roth, the ones that are on Sid Roth, all of these prophets who predict the future, right? Yeah. So this is how you become a prophet, right? So I want you to listen to those prophets when they prophesy the future, right? And what I want you to do is I want you to prophesy and predict the opposite of what they prophesy. There's a good chance you're going to be right. So that's how you have that's how you have a close to a 100% success rate based upon experience and history and their
Just do the
failed
opposite of
prophecies.
whatever the prophet is saying.
Listen to what they say and then prophesy the opposite. I just made all of our listeners a prophet right now.
Yeah, I like it.
And I learned the hard way because I was watching Sid Roth and all of his little prophets 2020, 2019, and I actually believed him. And then the opposite happened. So I'm like, okay, well.
You did. You would message me all this stuff.
Well,
and I'd be like, oh,
from
God.
now on, I'm just
Caleb's got
going to
egg on
predict
his
the
face,
opposite
yeah.
of what they say.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my gosh.
Right? Then,
Oh my
Yeah,
that
him
makes
and
sense, yeah.
Jermaine. They would fall into that stuff. Yeah. So I enjoyed the Young Adult podcast, which is already aired by this time.
Yes, I was.
But I think we got to do I'm trying to think of the right word for it. Like a baby. Here's what I
baby
reckon.
boomer?
Yeah, baby boomer episode.
Yeah.
You know, we always call them. I was thinking about this
what
the
do
other
you-
day, like because all the Gen Z kids call boomers, which has become like a cuss word. Like towards that like oh what a boomer. And I was thinking to myself like. What's a nice way? Like, is that what the generation? Cause I just blanked out. You just get like a total blank, and I'm like, what's a nice way of putting that generation? I'm like, oh no, they're called baby boomers. Like I had to Google it. Like,
Oh, what did you?
for whatever reason,
just boomers?
for whatever reason, I had a brain fart, and I thought they've always been called boomers.
Boomers.
And then
Gotcha.
and then it turned into a bad word.
Yeah.
Something is there a nicer way to call them? So
Yeah.
I Googled like
Their actual name.
like which I thought it was boomer.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I've just heard boomers so much
so
over and
much.
over and over that then I Googled it and it said baby boomer. I'm like, that's right. That's the
Yeah.
nice way of putting it.
Baby boomer.
But the Gen Z kids have told every person
boomers all the
they're
time.
called them boomers that it's like a derogatory, and I don't want to use that term unless I'm just
I think they
joking
would love to
around,
be on the podcast, to
a
be honest
baby
with you.
boomer audience episode.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
That
they
That
would
would be
love
really
that.
cool.
That would
would
be
be really
great.
good.
And then we
Yeah.
get Pastor Diego, we get like
Yeah.
Pastor Kenny or something, have them on. I think that'd be cool. So
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
that might
Yeah.
need
Starting
to
on
be a
that.
next one. Yes, is or we could call it Gen X baby boomer
So what-
episode.
Oh, never mind. I probably wouldn't
yeah.
say what age. I'll wait. I'll Google it.
I would say I would just say a baby boomer episode.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to think
a
that they're
part
in
of
that
it.
category, they can define for themselves when they're in it. So whether someone's a high end Gen Xer, Gen Xers are kind of lost in the sauce. You're either considered an old millennial or a young boomer. So if you're like a Gen Xer,
Okay.
they kind of there's not enough of them. So.
Okay. I love that.
But yeah, I think if we did a baby boomer episode, that would be cool because we have a lot of baby boomers who watch listen
Yeah.
and watch. I mean, the spread of our generations who listen to our gender and generations because I come from the multimedia podcast space. I know what the numbers are supposed to be, and our spread of genders and generations who listen to the podcast is really it's rare to have our level of
it is.
spread. Which is
Yeah.
great. It's a huge win, which reminds me consistently to like continue to do this because it's the social media criticisms. Those are funny. Those don't bother me. But I love everyone in our church. So if someone in our church has a criticism of it, I'll take it to heart and I'll think, should I be doing this? Should we be doing this? And then that could just be one naysayer, but it'll get. Because I want everyone to. You want everyone to like
of
everything
course.
you
Yeah.
do, right?
Right.
And so when you hear that, you go, no. And then I get a teenager say how much they love it. And then I get someone who's in their 70s say how much they love it. And then I'm reminded like, nah, we got to keep doing it.
Keep going.
We got to
exactly.
keep doing it.
Exactly.
That's good.
And that's what's such a blessing because the biggest gargantuan ministry podcast, they focus on like one thing. right? Like deliverance, or they'll focus on
Leadership.
criticizing the church, right? The
Church critic stuff.
church critic stuff,
Leadership stuff.
deliverance, leadership.
Yeah.
And so, we're covering like some broad topics of cultural relevance. And so anytime you kind of try to become a master of all trades, what do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But for us to cover all of these sorts of topics and still have such a variety, diverse audience says a lot.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And if I've always said like have it like it's like background noise for you, like that's it's great. Like it makes you feel like you're in a community deeper, in top of what you already have. But like on Mondays when I see people that work at a mechanic shop that's playing it, a nail salon that's playing it, someone who's a driver that's in their car for hours upon hours, and then they have it on their dashboard and they're listening.
cool
Like
to
I'm like, that's incredible. You don't necessarily do that with, let's just say it is a deliverance podcast or it is a theology podcast, because you're like, you got to have a journal out. You got to take notes and and that's good stuff. Like that content should stay out there, but it takes so much mental energy. And for me, like I listen, because I don't listen to music in the car. I've listened to podcasts now in my car for over 12 years. So like that's just what I've done. So even to the point when podcasting wasn't a huge thing and it was Sirius XM, and I listened to Sirius XM podcasts, which were, Catholic channel and other stuff like that. So I've done it so long because I loved that I could just kind of turn my brain off, listen to other people talk. If I wanted to engage in my thoughts, to be like, oh, no, that's a good point. I don't know, like what would I do about that? And then I could go back to not thinking. But the moment it's like someone's like, turn to 1 John, you feel like I got to turn to 1 John, and if I don't, I'm not, I'm not that guy. Or if they go straight into like they got the Christian politic ones, which are cool, but it takes so much thought because you're like, wait, what happened with that president yesterday? What happened with Biden? What? And then now you're all of a sudden researching and, now you're not driving anymore.
Right.
Now you're not doing someone's nails anymore.
Exit.
You're right. Yeah. Now you're lost in that conversation,
Right.
Yeah. So
That's true.
It's kind of like, because I'm a big Seinfeld fan. It's a show about nothing. This is kind of a podcast about nothing. We don't know where we're going.
It's a Seinfeld of Christian
We don't know where
podcast.
we're going with it when we start. We just go with the flow, and somehow 2 hours passes, and
Every
we wonder
time.
where the time went.
Every
We
time.
have been hitting 2 hours.
I'm always like, this is going to end in an hour today. We're getting out of here in an hour. And then it'll be like, I'll look at my phone. It'll be an hour and 45. I'm like, we gotta start landing this whenever that happens,
Yeah.
So we're going to do a baby boomer episode. Anyone who's listening, look out. We'll do it soon. We'll get with Nancy after. We'll schedule it. Because I think that would be fun.
It would be fun.
It'd be fun.
Oh yeah, it would.
Yeah, because I think the baby boomer episode, I joked with Caleb. I'm like, not only will be a lot of questions, it'll be a lot of comments.
Yes.
Because the
We're here
older
for that.
you get, the more
have a lot of
you have
opinions.
wisdom, and you just want to share more than you want to ask, and that's just part of getting, as you age, you get more definitive in your knowledge. You start asking less questions. You start making more comments. And I think there's beauty to that. There also could not be beauty to that as well. But that's why I think it would be fun, because I know for us, I'm always trying to, when our younger audiences, I'm trying to reel them to share their thought, but then they get kind of intimidated. Like, I don't want to get jumped on. When we did the young adult, when a couple came up and was just like, man, I wish you would have just answered the question and not talked to me, because they did. And then when you sit in this room, you realize how fast everything travels.
Right.
If you're listening just to the podcast, you think, oh, I would love to jump on and think, and then you get in the room and then you see how fast,
on the spot,
and then that was Pastor Diego's first response. He was like, people were like, he didn't say anything the first time. Like, when we were done, he was just like, where do you guys come up with this stuff? I don't know what's going on. He just was so like,
Chelsea and I
what
call
the
it
heck
the
is
highway.
happening?
It's like a freeway. You gotta merge real quick, or else you miss it.
And you don't
miss
think
it.
that until you get in the
Until you're
room,
here.
and then you're going like, oh wow, everybody's actually traveling really fast in terms of thinking. So when the young adults get in the room, or we do any audience, we've done a Father's Day one, we've done a Mother's Day one, it just happens so fast. So I think with the baby boomer episode, there might be some opportunities where then they even
They're gonna
talk
go in.
back, they dialogue,
Yeah.
which would be fun,
For sure.
because that's what I've always looked for a little more with people who sit in is like talk
More conversational.
talk back. Yeah. Give me your thoughts on
Yeah.
this, rather than I don't want to share. I'll share my thoughts in a second. I want you to talk, And
Yeah,
then they go,
yeah.
no, it's okay. You just answer it.
Yeah.
Just answer it.
Keep moving.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, they all did good, Lo. Yeah, I know
Oh,
some of them
man.
were nervous, but they were really well. They
So
were really,
nervous.
really good.
Questions
It
were
was
great.
Yeah, great energy too. They really turned
are
out.
fun.
So thank you all for all the young adults who came out. You were great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really cool, and it was a great diverse spread. Engaged people, married couples, singles, stuff like that. What's the single life
Would you-
out right now, guys? What's going
That's
on?
a great question.
What's happening right now
I
out in
know.
the single
What do
life?
you do as a single person?
You
Like,
live it
I
up.
wonder
you got
that.
No kids. You have.
Wait, let me.
All the.
What do you do when you get home?
Go.
Like when you get
No,
home.
ask it. No, go.
You watch Netflix? Like, what do you do when you get
Jesus.
home?
Go, Pastor Adam. I want to know what you're
take my
thinking.
seat.
No, I just want to clarify. I just want to for those of us who were talking to Nancy, Chelsie in here. I want to I just want to overly clear. Chelsie, you are well. Yes, we do have to get in some things. Chelsie, you are single.
Yes.
You are okay.
Yeah.
Nancy, are you single?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Can't
So
lie. We're in church. Yeah.
okay. So given. And we'll get to Nancy in a second. Honestly, if anyone's listening to this, people have to know the concept. Men or whoever it is have been consistently sending Chelsie stuff at work.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yes. That is
and if you're
awkward.
older on here and you're married, you guys need to get with us and agree with us because we have a job to do, right?
Yes.
We have to come around more, especially fellas. If you're married, listen to me. We do need to get around more single young men because these guys, not all, but a lot of these guys, they don't know.
We've been trying
what's
to help
going
them,
on.
man.
Well, I know.
We've
No,
devoted
I'm not
at
saying me and
least
you.
5
No, I'm
episodes
saying
to
this
try
is
to help
I'm saying this is like a group. This is like
Yeah,
group therapy,
yeah.
right? Like we need more married men to join us in this endeavor, and go. What are you doing, bro? like these guys are sending
It's
Chelsie
weird.
stuff at work, but then they're using like pseudonyms. They're saying from anonymous, and some of it is just like. And sorry, Nancy, I might have thrown you in this now because I'm thinking it known that you're single. So, so now you might get thrown into some of these things. But I mean,
Okay.
Chelsea's getting like exorbitant flowers, candies,
Edible arrangement.
I mean,
it's
and
just a lot.
these are like from different people, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Like one person.
Yeah.
And one person whom we love very much, we had a conversation with, and it stopped. So that's maturity, right? But these other guys who we don't know, they're like using either their real name, fake name,
Yeah.
but their names none of us recognize.
Yeah, no.
And they're just coming to her workplace, which isn't a good look.
No.
Not. I'm not saying for her it's not a good look. For you, it's not a good look that you're bothering her at work. That it's not even your name. You're not putting your first and last name. So you're
doesn't know who you
you're
are,
sending
yeah.
it's like you're in 9th grade and you're sending a candygram. Like
Yeah.
come
no,
on.
that's what it feels like. It's weird.
Ask someone out. Be
Yeah.
straight. Have a plan. Be transparent. Try to get to know the opposite sex in an authentic way. Like, this is not the movies. This is not the movies.
Why do you guys
like,
feel like men are trying to be anonymous in their
this is new
endeavors?
to me. This is new to me. In no
It's a
era,
mystery.
and no era have I ever
And it's
believed that was
consistent,
a
too.
thing.
It's a simp. It's a simp. It's
That's
this
Caleb's favorite
it's
word.
this overly romanticized vision that they have in their
But,
head
like,
that they're
After
going
2 weeks
to.
and it's still anonymous, that's not simp.
No,
That's
yeah.
weird. That's weird.
What do you think a simp is? A simp
They're
is weird.
weird.
It's
Yeah,
synonymous.
you're right.
That's a synonym.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
hey,
Anonymous
that's
for
not
me.
a-
It's this like
anonymous.
it's like this
You're right.
romantic view that they have in their mind where they're gonna send you these flowers. You're not gonna know who it's from. You're gonna be wondering who is this
Yeah.
Prince Charming that cares about me so much that sent me flowers, and then they're gonna come up to you after church one day and say,
In a
"You know those
horse.
flowers I sent
Here's
you."
No,
the thing.
I
Here's
thought-
the thing. Go ahead, Jermaine.
It's a simp.
I thought about. I wouldn't say it's a simp because it's not that general of an overarching word that applies to a guy who just has weird game. right? So
Weird Riz.
So here's what I'm saying
Yeah.
though.
Weird
I think it's a chess play. I think these guys know Chelsie posts about everything. So they want to see how
I
she'll
agree.
react
I
to
agree.
it. And then they know,
Oh.
dang it, that's not the move, so I have to try a new tactic. That's why
Yes.
they'll never reveal themselves. I've thought
Yes.
about this.
You thought?
Yeah,
Well,
They
I
know
No,
she's
I
going to
agree.
post
No,
it. If she has a
you're right.
positive post about it, they can walk up to her and say, I was that guy. But when she goes, hey, guys, that's kind of weird, they go, dang it, whatever.
Yeah, after the first
Good.
time it happened, I never did it again because I'm like, I'm giving them the energy
The
and attention
reaction
that
they
they
want.
want. News flat. Maybe I'm just different than other women. It's not flattering to me. I don't. When I get anonymous stuff sent to my work without a name, it's not. I don't like it. It's not.
I mean, it's fine if you're married to the, or if you're,
if I'm dating,
yeah, you're dating. I mean, that's
but
not,
if it's
yeah, that's
anonymous
fine.
and you're
but-
not putting a name
Yeah.
to it, it's not hot to
Yeah,
me.
I'm not
That's
saying
not the
I'm not
way.
saying you're a simp if you do that to your significant
No.
other. I'm just saying if you don't know the woman and you're some
100%.
random,
That's weird.
you're some rando.
Right, right.
Yeah, well, you
To answer your
never know
question,
nowadays.
Being single is hard in these streets, especially in the church. It's just very interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, church and not church.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
I just I honestly, it's like, that's why I said, what's going on with the single life?
In the meantime,
'Cause
I
don't know
love my
what's-
life.
I don't know what's going on in that
Same.
space right
yeah,
now.
me neither.
I don't. I hear some wins. Obviously, I'm doing a lot of weddings right now. I'm doing 5 this month alone. So
Are they
I'm
from
a
the
little
church?
wedding.
I'm doing one too, yeah.
You doing your first wedding?
I'm doing my first wedding.
Oh, you're
Yes.
you're
Next week.
She's
wow.
performing it.
Yes.
Cool.
Very fun.
Wish it was my wedding, but neither here nor there.
When you do get married, will you perform it yourself?
No.
Chelsea?
Oh goodness.
Could you
I'll
imagine?
pay you if you do. I'll give you money
How
if
much?
you do.
I'm her manager. How much?
You want to know what would be cool if both you and Ashlee did my wedding, perform my wedding? That would be the most interesting thing. Ooh. What?
Yeah, no.
So dramatic.
Ashlee is not
gotta
a
send me
Did
an
a special
email.
podcast episode on that.
You gotta send me an
Live,
email.
live.
And I'll let
Yeah,
you
we'll
know.
do
Live
it
at
on the
her
letter
wedding.
live. Chelsea's wedding.
Live at her wedding.
Something we prayed for a very long time. Something we prayed her into for a very long time. Yeah, I would, and well, here's the reality. I don't think a lot of people recognize, because obviously God could do miracles, but statistics are statistics. Most men do not take their faith serious until they start having a family, not just get married, until they start having kids. So there is a disproportionate growth especially in terms of faith. So here's why I would say, you're saying especially in church. Well, there's a level of that. That's true. That there are a lot of men out there who are just out living their life, out on the streets, doing their own thing, dating whoever they want, doing whatever they want, living by whatever ethics and values they want. Even if they're in the church, it doesn't even mean that they have even really necessarily taken this serious yet. It just could mean that, like, mom and dad were raised around here. It's what I know, and it's cool. And they're Christians, they're saved, but it has yet to embed the importance of certain values and certain responsibilities and things like that. And so for a lot of Christian girls who are in the church who are saying, like, where are these men, right? Where's my Boaz? Like, where is he? It's like, well, he had,
I'm in the field.
like if I'm being really honest, which sounds discouraging, is like, he's not taking his faith serious yet. Like,
it's like Kanye's song, "Don't you grow up in a hurry, won't you worry now?" Isn't the God of the story?
I don't know that one.
No, but it's a point. It's a point. The whole song's about this concept, so it's kind of important because it's a great song, and the whole point is, like, before I had kids, I abused women, and now that I have a girl, I want her to do yoga and Pilates. I don't want her to do yoga and Pilates, but to look, what did he say? What did he say? But to learn karate, right?
The main line in that is, now I look at women as something to nurture, not something to conquer.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a dope
And
song.
you have a lot of men who only start coming to church, and young couples who main reason coming to church so that their kids can get that moral teaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that becomes their general first step. Women who are generally, way more community oriented, way more service oriented, on top of their faith. But that appeals to them within the church as well. It's like, oh, I get community. That's why if you invite your girlfriend, you know, to the church and then they come once or twice, they're like, this is dope. I have friends. We're doing a Bible study over there. Men who tend to like more isolation, take more to like work with their hands and other stuff. And they're not necessarily at the point where they're going, yeah, I think I want to be in a community, or I think I want to come and sing songs, or I think I want to, as they start to have that family. But even we know then when now they have that family and they are saved, then another only percentage actually engage in their faith, now jump into men's groups and other stuff like that. It's the less amount. And so I think it is very, and I'm not encouraging any Christian woman to settle and be like, yeah, go find that project. And an unbeliever of that project. I'm just saying like, that's why you should just continue to pray, because they're out there. Like they're out there. I mean, you know, the men in this room who are married were that, you know, when they met their spouses, except for Phil. Phil was out in the streets when he met his wife. But the rest of us were.
So you know. Let me ask this: what are your thoughts when it comes to single women having platonic friendships with the opposite sex? Like when it comes to friendships with men, you know, obviously the texting every single day, talking every day, that's something else. You're at a different level. But what about platonic friendships? Like, you know, you have these male friends and you're like, yo, let's hang out. And what do you think
you guys
about?
Go on hikes and
What
coffee. I mean, I'm personally game for it.
Your thoughts about having male friendships?
Yeah, I think or
that's just
healthy.
waiting until you start
when
dating
you're not
somebody.
attached. I think it's cool when you're not attached.
I agree.
But when you are, then you gotta.
Yeah, I think the moment, because I was just in a situation where it was the opposite. The guy had 2 girl best friends. And initially I was fine with it until I recognized they had too much emotional influence on him. Okay. So that's where I felt like the line was crossed, because I'm not insecure in that way. Like have female girlfriends, but the moment that we're dealing with something and you're going to them first, or you're emotionally attached to them, that's where the line is drawn. And if they're not mature enough to say, hey, bro, like you're in a really do it with Chelsie, then that's where I'm like, I examine the type of friends that he has that are female. So I think it goes both ways.
Let me clarify then, hearing the way you took it, I don't think you should have female like best friends community. Okay. You know, that's individualistic, right? Yeah. Like I don't think you should have that, because at some point if you start pursuing someone, that relationship shouldn't be there. Yeah. I don't believe males should have female friendships outside of what their wife brings into the relationship. You know, coworker talking and stuff. I'm not talking about that, but I'm like, right. You know, this is my
going to the
BFF,
movies with
your best friend,
girlfriend,
or whatever that may be. Yeah. That's not wise. It's not gonna probably too oftentimes end well. Yeah. Someone may be listening who has that. You know, God bless you. Probably works well for you, but I don't see any health in it. I don't see healthy things. But then I see a guy may have a girlfriend that then he gets a girlfriend and then they click really fast, and then that girlfriend because I have married friends who he has a girlfriend from high school, and they're like in their 40s now, and then they're all friends. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. But in this like dating phase and all that kind of stuff like that, there should be a moment where you begin to create a little bit of a schism, and it should be multi-gendered. Like, oh, I got a couple guy friends, couple girlfriends. We're all together. We're friends, collectively. Right. And then as I get serious with this girl or guy vice versa of a girl, like then I'll start to wean back on this gender. So in your sense, like, yeah, I agree. If a guy's got 2 girlfriends, girls that are friends, and then he starts dating a girl, and these girls have a lot of influence on like that. Well, yeah, I mean that's weird. Right. But if you got a group of friends that you guys are going hiking, coffee, sometimes you link up with that guy friend for coffee, because if you're single, like you're ready to mingle, like you be open to anything, anything. Be open to anything. So if something develops and nurtures, why not?
Get out there. Fun. I think
get off the computer, get off your phone, get off the video games,
and
get out in the world.
Not the video
games. 100%.
Oh yeah.
I think for so long I was closed off to having any type of male friendship. Period. I was just like, I'm just that type of person that I'm like, once I'm locked in, baby, you know? But I was just like, okay, I think now I'm at a point where I'm just like, I've been in now situations where we've had, you know, get-togethers and, you know, there's other guy friends there. And it's really cool because it's completely platonic. And it's just really fun to have that different perspective of a male. I don't know why I was so close off to being that way, but yeah, that's why I asked it because I'm sure maybe.
Do you guys ever do dating apps?
Personally, no, never. But
So what's that world like? What's that world like?
It's not for everybody. It's interesting. Yeah, it's not for everybody. Here's the thing. If you have a really crazy life, you're always working, you're all in your home. Those are the two main locations that you're at. I think it's wise to go online dating to see what else is out there, or else the only man you're going to be seeing is the Amazon guy and the mailman. So it's like you have to open up. That's if you have a life that is super demanding that doesn't allow you to be out socially as much. I think dating apps is a wise thing to do. I'm not afraid of it. You just have to have discernment when you're doing it because there are some interesting people on. And the thing I have to be careful about, because the dating apps, they link you to people within a certain mile radius. So I'll scroll sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, see a lot of church people. So I have to be very careful of what I do online because you see a lot of it's.
Well, what are you trying to do online?
That makes
Chelsie?
sense.
I'm not trying to do anything online. No, what persona I'm not trying to do anything online, but nothing. I'm just saying. I'd rather not date within the church. Anyways, yes, I am online dating.
It's tough. I know Chelsie said she was like 11.
Yeah.
So
and I think
I feel like I should just between me and her dad, Jack. It's true. It's true. Like
what's your longest dating relationship?
Like it's
longest dating relationship.
6 months.
Okay.
But the pursuit was 2 years. So he pursued me for 2 years, and then we officially dated for 6 months.
What does that mean? Pursued you for 2 years?
Like he tried very, very hard to date me for 2 years, but he had just come out of an engagement. And I felt
that's not a red flag.
I just felt like he needed to heal in some areas before I went, and the girl was still in our environment and still in our group, so I felt like it was very disrespectful to even initiate anything when it was so fresh. So I said I need to give it time, and so I saw some flags. I'm like, give it more time.
Wow.
And so 2 years goes by, and then I finally was like, okay, let's actually try this out, and then I realized it didn't work.
Yeah, and I think like I don't know what the word is, but worldly men are more bold. I feel because I feel like
I don't agree with that.
No, I feel like
Christian men that are.
I don't know.
I would agree that worldly men probably overall are more bold because they
intentions are probably different.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like they just
I agree.
they know the end road to
Yeah,
this. Like of course they're gonna make that move.
Yeah.
Like it's quick satisfaction and stuff like that. I think Christian men either aren't because here's what I would think is some Christian men aren't progressing the ball down the court because maybe they take marriage serious. And so maybe they recognize they're not ready for that. I have met young men who say that, who like, I'm not ready for marriage. I'm not. But there's this natural instinct desire, but it's like, but I do want a girlfriend. I want, I want someone to cuddle with and boo with and all that, but I'm not ready for marriage.
Do you agree with that? Where if they're not ready for marriage, they're still in this state? Because as we were talking about this, I was thinking, why is it so difficult? I think a lot of men are afraid of, and women too, are afraid of commitment. Like the moment they realize, there's potential to marriage.
I just had an epiphany.
What's your epiphany?
Let's hear it.
Well, let's be real though.
Okay.
You've been asked out on many dates.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
yes.
So what?
Let me ask. I have a follow-up question, and it's going to be very controversial.
Go.
So at least probably half dozen have asked you out, and you're kind. You go to coffee.
Yes,
and
100%.
So the men are out there.
Yeah.
They're just not ones that you connect with and you see as potential suitors. But they have made their moves. And some of these men are good men.
Hypergamy.
Like so they're not hard to find. They're just you have a certain preference which I'm completely for you having.
Yeah.
But you have been approached many times. Mm-hmm. So to say Christian men are out there, they're not this, they're not that, they're making moves on you.
Yeah, they're out
You
there.
just aren't reciprocating because they're
Yes.
not the ones you're interested in.
Yes, that would be.
So
They're
There's
not.
there.
They're not the
But they are there.
20%. Are you
Yeah,
familiar
well,
with the
oh, no.
80-20 rule?
Oh, wait.
So this
Caleb's
is
red
especially
pill.
a phenomenon
go.
going on in the dating apps, which is provable and very, very truth. A lot of
Caleb's
truth
like,
to
Google
it.
Google it.
But I'm curious, but it connects with what Adam is saying. So this is what's known as hypergamy, or the 80-20 rule that's going on right now, because you have women with way more options than they've ever had in history via social media to choose whatever man they want to be with that their hearts can imagine. Let me give you an illustration of this. On Tinder, the most handsome man on Twitter with got like 200 likes from women within a day. The most physically unattractive woman, she got like 500 in the same time period. So what that says is that women have way more options than men do, and so the average woman has all of these options, right? And so when they're swiping, they choose the 20%. So they're choosing the guy who's 6 foot, who makes this much, who makes this much, who does
and the
this.
man's choosing the 80.
And
I get
the
what you're saying.
20%, so the 20% is sleeping with or having relationships with 80% of the women, and 80% of men are average who aren't even getting looked at. And so in the past, those 80% would have had a chance because the only way you would meet somebody is through real life. And so your options are more limited. And so those average men had more chance with the average woman. Whereas now the average woman is only interested in the 20%. So you have 20% of men getting all the women. And so that's why you have, this relationship. That's one contributing factor to this relationship mess that we're in, where the majority of men are virgins, more so than women. More women are promiscuous now than men. By the year 2030, half of men are going to be single. Half of men of adult men are going to be single. And so you have this crazy phenomenon going
online
on.
Dating?
It's a contributing factor because you have the majority of women only interested in 20% of men because their DMs are flooded now. And so they're only naturally, women want the best that they can get. They're not going to settle. Women are not going to settle. And so they're only interested in 20%. So what do you have with the 80%? What do you have with the guy who makes $70,000 a year working at UPS or working at a grocery store or working at just a Joe Blow average job with average looks, with an average height of 5'8", 5'6", 5'7"? That guy has no chance in the social media space. And it's harder for
you're
him.
Not contributing like
and
an
it's harder for him to meet a woman in person because she's only interested in the 20% on her social media. So that is a real phenomenon that's going on in our culture right now that's going to have serious ramifications
in like 15 years.
As you get more single people, you get more young men who are single, who aren't being chosen by women. Yeah. Women aren't interested because now I'm not saying this was your experience, but it seems to kind of line up. But
it does. I'm mad at Chelsie
there is
right now.
There is something to it.
I'm mad at some
Why?
statements she said because you say like it be hard out in these streets and it's this and that, and it's not true. Guys approach you.
It's not. I'm
You
not
have to-
saying it's
wait,
hard
what-
to get attention from men. I'm saying it's hard to find one guy that is seriously committed to relationships. Getting
I
attention
know a
is
few
not
of those
hard.
guys. I know a few of those
There's
guys.
a lot of men
They're
though.
there.
But here's the thing. Here's why you say
She
that.
knows they're
no,
there.
no. Here's
She
why you
knows
say
they're
that.
there.
Here's why you say that. Because I'll be scrolling on TikTok and I'll see some fine women, 8, 9, 10, being like, why don't these men commit? Let me tell you why they don't commit. Because I'm thinking, you're gorgeous. Who's not going to commit to you? Because they're only interested in the 20%. And the 20% is not interested in commitment. They're only interested in bagging a bunch of women that are constantly gonna lay themselves out for them because they're the 20%. So the average 20% man has like 10 women at his disposal, and so why would he commit when all he's
So
interested
what's your argument?
in
Your
is
argument
sex?
is saying go for the 80%, look for the 80%.
Well, but you're talking in a secular sense.
yeah.
Even in the
So-
Christian world, I would say.
No. I mean, like the guys who are in the 20% in the Christian world, like they're not looking to bag a girl. Like they're just. What I'm saying is they're limited.
Really?
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
true Christian.
yeah. I'm not talking about a guy who comes to
Yeah,
church. He
I
just
mean, either
he
way,
just hunting.
I
You
see
know,
that.
Either way,
like-
that's what's going on. That's just a fact.
I see
Like
that,
you got a
Yeah,
high
but
value
we're
man
talking
in
to
the
two Christian
20%.
girls. We're not talking about two girls that are like going to the nightclub right now. Like
No,
we're
but
talking to two
but I'm
Christian
saying
single
that
girls.
would be the reason
that's the
why
conversation
that
we're
would
trying
be
to
a
have.
reason why a beautiful women like yourselves would be with an amazing high value man and him not want to commit. That could be a reason. I'm not saying that's the case in your situation. I'm just saying this is what's going on a lot. Is the reason why he's not committing because he's only interested in having sex. Because he has all of these women at his disposal, and the 80%. Meanwhile, the 80% are being neglected, and they'll settle for any woman, a woman at least at their range, if not below. Men are not picky. Women are a lot more picky than men are. And so
Right.
for
I think
a
that's the
man
point
not to
we're
want to
getting- I'm getting at
commit
right now.
but
That's
that's
the
why it
point
doesn't
you're
make
getting
sense
to.
for
I
an
have a
average
question.
man not to want to commit. I feel like average men would commit.
Yes, that's my
Yeah.
whole point.
I know.
That's
I know.
what I'm saying.
Average men
But it's
And
not
I'm just fleshing it out. I'm just
have a
saying why
question.
that is. I'm saying because these beautiful women, they're not interested in the average man. They're only interested in the 20%, and the 20% aren't interested in commitment. That's all. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's your case, but I'm just saying that's what's actually going on right now.
I got a
The
question.
20% aren't
Maybe
interested in
yeah.
commitment. They're just
I'm trying to
interested in
flesh out
sex.
church right now. Space Christians. That's all I'm trying.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm trying
I
to
don't
talk
know.
to Christians real quick.
There's still
Like,
an
not-
overlap.
Well, I gotta-
not the-
There's still an
So I
overlap
have
in the
a
Christian
question.
church.
I'm
I'm
we're-
not disagreeing with that.
Still
I'm
in
just
the
saying,
world.
but
They're
the
still in the
anecdote,
culture.
the anecdote
They still have
doesn't.
the same apps, dating apps, and social media.
What's your question?
Well,
Jermaine?
yeah,
Anyway.
Pastor Adam, because this coincides. I want to know if this coincides because I just watched a post of this girl who she's like 31. She got married young, maybe 23, 24. She has kids already. But she was saying that whole dynamic, which is everybody now who's done fooling around in their 20s is now looking around for men, but those men have already been decisive to get married, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, because now, like that, what she's saying is now the 30-year-old women who pretty much were partying throughout their 20s, got ran through now, are not good candidates for a man. And so
The
my
man that they want.
the man that they want, yes. So,
But there are men that will
exactly,
take them.
for
They just
sure.
don't want them.
So
They're
my
not
question
interested
is-
'cause they're
is-
average.
Is there a Christian version of what that girl's describing? Because she's describing her friends and people who literally clubbed and traveled throughout their 20s and just straight, just partied and just did all the things, right? But is there a Christian version of that? Holding off marriage, holding off, because obviously I'm a personal advocate. It's funny because people that I mentor, young people, I do it case by case, but I don't seem like I recommend they get married, even though I myself am an advocate of young people getting married and just building a life together. But is there a Christian version of that, of like kind of pretty much squandering the most prime time you're a candidate for marriage? Or you think it's just kind of like, because I know you have a lot of thoughts on that.
I have a lot of thoughts on what aspect.
I don't think you can divide the two. I think it's the same as in the world. I really
Well, that's
do.
what no, but he's
The
qualifying
church
it
has pretty
differently.
much the same divorce rate. The church has pretty.
Oh,
So I
I
think
see
the
what you're
relationship
saying.
dynamics are the same.
Is there a Christian
So-
version of that people spend time pretty much not focused on the wrong thing, but it comes a point in someone's life where they're now focusing on this thing, which is marriage or building a life, and then it's not that the ship is sailed, because we know, especially as Christians, is not the case, but that explains the dynamic of what makes it way more difficult.
Well, I don't think right now. I don't think if you're a girl in your 20s, like there aren't a lot of men yet who are taking their faith serious. So I can only survey the data, and I can't offer to, because I think the premise of why those young men are in churches it has to be affected generationally, like as a generation, because there was a time where young men were in church. In fact, men were very influential in church. You look at the Martin Luther King Jr. era type of stuff, like there was men very active and their children became active, but in the sense that we're in now and where data shows is young men aren't taking that. When you look at almost a post-Christian era, young men don't take their faith serious until they start having families. So the crop is at that point, if you're a Christian woman, it immediately is limited right there. Like, you're just not going to find a lot of men right now who are taking their faith that serious. Does that mean that there aren't any? Yeah, sure, there are. There are plenty. It's just not plenty in the realm that a woman may be interested in or connect with him for various reasons and circumstances, you know? And so, and then you're talking about more of an isolated era. So you're talking about, especially now post-COVID and stuff like that, you're talking about kids who got their whole education online. People are going to college online. Young generation is taking their faith less serious. So I've talked about it before in some languages.
They can't even afford a girlfine.
Well, hold on. Let me finish the conversation. Well, yeah.
You got to do stuff
you
with
shouldn't
her.
get one.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop them from having one. They'll still get, if a guy's broke, he'll still get a girlfriend. He'll let his girlfriend pay for everything. Like,
that is 100% true.
So, you know,
I mean, I won't do
that
it.
doesn't
That's
stop
true.
them.
Yeah.
Like, a guy's not thinking, I'm not going to ask her
But
out
a
because
girl
I
won't
can't.
be interested.
Some are.
Well, plenty are. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. There are plenty of girls looking for that type of guy that they could take care of and stuff like that. So, but I'm saying to say is, I lost my thought because Caleb jumped in. No, I'm just kidding. What was I saying before that? I was trying to make it to a point of a thought. I know, right?
You're talking about men don't take faith seriously. They're not.
Yeah, men don't.
They're online
not-
classes.
Right.
They're-
Okay. So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is
So
they're-
all your boyfriends
Hold on.
haven't take
Wait.
faith seriously?
hold on.
Let him finish.
All
So-
my boyfriends, first of all, haven't had a
Or,
lot.
I'm sorry. I just want to see if it lines up. With,
No, they're
with
just-
what
Yeah,
Adam
Yeah,
said.
no. So a huge
Like,
component.
what does that even mean?
A huge component is that has stopped me from continuing relationships further has been a faith component. Where, not saying they're not at the level that I am at. I'm not saying that, but it's like, you have no idea what it looks like to live this Christian life out. Like, this is just not going to mesh well at all.
Or you may say, "Hey, what are we doing? Do you have plans to get married or what?" And he's like, "No, I'm just seeing where it goes." He has a very secular
here's
view
an example,
of
very
how he's
secular.
dating.
One Christian dude who is in the industry, Christian industry. He and I dated for a second, and we were talking, and we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff, view on marriage, view on kids, all this stuff. His Christian in the church, works in the church, is in the church. And I said, what are some non-negotiables for you? He said, bad sex. I said, so you have, how do you determine that? Like, he's like, yeah, I have to see if you're good in bed before I ever decide to commit to you. Like, this is a Christian guy.
Is he a 20%er? Because that would make sense. How tall was he?
Yeah, he's a 20%.
Okay. So,
Regardless,
then you
though,
prove my point.
But
Well, no,
but
yeah,
I
he
go
has
in
a
there-
only
hold
interested in
on.
sex.
But I go in
Yeah,
there.
he has
He's a 20%.
But you wouldn't.
But even
again,
a Christian
it's
in
what
the
I just said.
20%
That guy's not a
is
Christian.
doing that.
But I do date the
Well, you know what I mean.
I do date the 80%
That's what point I'm
too,
making.
who I'm just like, man, you couldn't hang in a theological conversation with me. Like, you're just blank. And there's 80%ers like that.
Average
So
guys, yeah.
it goes both ways. And I'm like, for me, the man that I'm looking for, his faith level has to be just a little bit higher. And I'm aware that I might get married later in life because of that. I'm aware of that. Later in age. Because of the type and the caliber of man that I'm looking for when it comes to their faith. Because a lot of men aren't getting serious about their faith until late 20s, early 30s, when they're done with the 20s.
And that's very reasonable. I respect you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, that should be a standard, a high standard
Yeah.
for you.
And that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, that's a great thing. I think Chelsie should have a high standard. I think Nancy should have a high standard. I think then we should change our language then to saying there aren't any men out there, or it's hard to find a man.
Right.
It's like
They're out there.
there. It's just
called the
it's
80%.
like what you're looking for isn't what you particularly are interested in or looking, and so or looking for. So same thing when I met my wife.
No,
I-
legitimate question though. You're saying they're out there. They're out there. Okay, legitimate question. Where? Like, if you're saying, oh, they're out here, they're there. Where exactly? So, like, for example,
It's like, send me the location.
no. For example, like,
Well, after this episode, they're gonna be around.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying because we hear that so much, and it's just like, yeah, they're here, they're there, and that's what I'm saying. I feel like not to give worldly men more credit, but I feel like worldly men have more boldness to approach a woman than those for me personally, my personal experience, where it's just like you're going at a restaurant, somebody comes up to you, but I'm at church and it's just like crickets, and I'm confident in who I am. I'm confident in how I look.
Should we start doing like single stickers?
No. I'm content where I'm at right now.
But wait, look. Chelsea, since last year, how many men have approached you? Conversation. How many men have approached you and either attempted to go on a date with you or asked you on a date, and you said yeah?
And these are
in
Christian
12 months,
men.
yeah, in the church.
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Christian
So that's about one a month in the past 12 months
Mm-hmm.
has approached Chelsea, who, we've joked more and it's more outspoken that she is single. I think if there was more avenues where people made that clear, that would happen. But in her sense, it's made known they're there.
And
so
out
when I
of
say
the
they're there, they're
out
made,
of the 7 to 10, these are not weird men. These are
yeah,
average,
I mean-
like,
No,
you know what?
No, some of them are weird for sure, but they're not my preference.
I mean,
But they're
Caleb's
in the-
weird. I'm weird.
No,
Like,
I'm
Describe weird. Yeah, we got to give definitions to these terms. I want
where
to
it's
know
like,
what
okay,
faith
you
means. I
have-
want to know what weird means. I want to know we got to know these definitions.
Well, I mean, what
you guys are helping guys
what you
right
guys
now.
are-
by the
Yeah,
way.
you are. We're trying to.
what you're
help
describing.
them.
You
like,
were there. All
I'm
of you.
weird.
All of you guys were there
mean,
when
we
I
all
got
have a little
approached right
weird.
after service. Remember?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So
So the approach was fine, but it was the follow up that was weird. It's just like
Okay, explain.
It was.
But even us as men would agree that individual was weird.
Yeah,
And the individual
Yeah.
was weird.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, I know particularly, multiple
Yeah,
men
that's true.
who have good jobs, make a good
Yeah.
living, who do well for themselves, who have had the courage
To ask me out.
to ask you out,
Yeah.
and some to
Okay.
get coffee.
Yes.
And then you've just said, we don't click, it's not what I'm looking
Yeah.
for. So when I say they're there, they are. I would, you may be, because you came out of a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's more men are
Just
like,
recently, yeah.
so it was news to me right now that you were single. So men aren't gonna know, like
Oh,
men
God,
aren't
I don't
gonna
wanna
know.
hear it. Can we,
you
Corey,
know?
can we cut this
So
part?
I thought you wanted to approach you on
No,
Sundays.
I'm not saying no. I'm good with
Yeah.
like
Oh,
okay.
being,
But when I say they're
not
there,
approached
like they're
that.
making efforts, they're making
Yeah, they're
themselves
there.
known.
Yeah.
They're if you're
And it
talking
takes a lot of
to- you know,
courage, respect,
It
but
does.
It
And I-
does,
you know,
it
I
does.
respect that.
I mean, yeah.
But you
don't be
wouldn't
sending
say-
flowers in office or like that one
That's
time.
weird.
Don't be approaching you after you're giving an exhortation and you're in a prayer, an area of prayer. Like that's not the best
With
time
your
to ask
mom
somebody
and dad
out.
right
my
there,
mom
you know.
and
Yeah.
all of my pastors. Right
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
That's
Like,
not
come
okay.
on, guys. Like we got to do better. So yeah.
Sending anonymous files. It's not like we got to
Yeah.
do a little bit. So they're there,
But those
Yeah.
are they're there. But those we already agree. Like we all agree those are strange
And-
guys.
and I've had-
then the other guys
are not strange.
Who
I
are
agree.
who are,
Who
who
I've gone
are
on dates
good
with.
suitors.
Yeah.
Who are people that could build a family for
Yeah.
you, build a future for you.
Yeah.
It just may not be what you're looking for. And so that's where I think part of the language has to change. Is like they're out there, but I haven't find any that are for me yet.
Okay, that's fair
like I
enough.
think that's the proper language. Like they're out there. Men are out there. I haven't found the one for me. And I would have said that when I was single with girls is there is dozens of girls that I went to coffee with, girls I went to high school with, my wife, some people may
you
know
were a
this
20%er.
Well, that's very kind of you, Caleb. But
You were.
I don't.
You
know,
are
I'd
not
put
average
myself
in any
the 80.
sense.
That's very kind of
All
you.
the women
would
you
you
are
put
put
yourself
myself
in the
all the
80?
women you
I
are
wanna be
bagging
like-
Solomon. You are a
underdog.
20%er.
The underdog.
I'd put
You are
myself
prom
in the
court
80.
king, whatever the heck they call
You
that
were
thing. You're
prom court king?
king.
I mean, no,
You
no,
are
but I
bagging
was
like
on
King
prom
Solomon.
court. Yeah.
You're a 20%. So you can't
He's
speak for
feeling
the
very
average man.
not
I can
Solomon.
speak for the average man.
Not
Okay,
Solomon.
5'8". Okay,
I'm fine.
5'8", married as a virgin, baby.
Yeah.
So I could kind of, but
Well, here's what
you
I
got to
had
be
going for
honest
me.
though. You're a 20%er.
Here's
You're a
what-
20%er.
It's very kind. It's very kind. I received the gesture, but here's
This is why I'm a men's rights activist, because I'm trying
guys
to.
like me give false.
Yeah, exactly. You're not a part of us, okay?
You're
You're not a part of us average men, okay? I stand for the average man.
Listen. We all know there's one thing I'm good at. It's good with my words. So what I feel like I'm part of the 80, but
No,
but my
because-
Confidence is important.
My
Confidence is
made-
important.
Confidence
You
is
can
fine.
make up for a lot of things with
You
confidence.
take the guy
This is
who
true.
starred in Oppenheimer, right? There was a thing that went on viral on TikTok that's like, if you remove his confidence and his stature, he's actually a really normal, unattractive
yeah.
guy.
For sure.
And they just did this about Cecilian.
Yeah, he's 5'8" too.
Yeah. So they they took him basically on TikTok
is
and was
5'8".
like basically they were like, why are so many women obsessed with him? And then they say, well, because he's well dressed. In Peaky Blinders, he
Like
has a certain
status at the end of the
stature.
day.
He has a confidence. Well, you could
Status.
put status, but you could also put his confidence level, his stature inside of himself. And so that's what I always tried to exhibit, was to be confident in myself, not arrogant, not cocky, but confident in myself, decisive, and have leadership. So I'd be the guy that's like, hey, put on a nice dress tonight. I want to take
Take
you out
initiative.
somewhere. I want
Yeah.
to take you to dinner. And my wife would be like, wow, this guy.
But you
guy's
also had
amazing,
status, so you were one of the most popular kids in school. So you had status, and so it just kind of like a snowball effect, right?
Yeah, maybe so.
And so,
maybe so.
women are attracted to men
Well,
that
they
other
are. I mean, I
women
agree
want to
that.
be with.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Once again,
is that real for men too?
So, do men fight over girls?
Oh, no.
no.
Women
We
can
walk
marry
away
a
from that.
McDonald's worker.
Yeah, we walk.
Really?
Oh yeah, like
Men-
if two
men-
guys are fighting for one girl, it's just like, oh, she talked to you, man, I'm out, bro. That's not,
And
like,
men
they
will
just-
marry a
yeah, guys
McDonald's
don't-
worker if she's physically attracted to him.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
To
yeah,
him.
Yeah.
Men have
So,
much less standards.
Here's what I was
Not
going to
even
say.
close.
Here's part of the difficulty, roundabout way. Currently, right now in society, there is no acting town hall where people will tend to meet and get married. So kids are going to school online, and so
Yep.
your town hall, like, oh, we met in college,
Yep.
and then we got married. You're not meeting in college
Right,
anymore. You're
right.
online 50% of the time.
And they say
then-
even in clubs now, people are just on their phone the whole time,
Yes.
and they're just taking selfies. Like it's such a stupid experience now. They're not even meeting
Not unless you go
people
salsa
anymore.
dancing.
They're taking selfies. They're on their phones. Can't
if you're
even
going
meet anybody.
salsa dancing, they're all 90 years old,
No,
Nancy.
no,
Stop.
No, not all of them. I take
Come
salsa
on,
classes.
grandma and grandpas.
No, I take salsa classes, and there were a
Abuela.
lot of young men. No, oh my God, there are a lot of young men that want to learn salsa, and they'll be bold, and it's
That's a
really
good
So
place to
tell
meet
them
people.
to take you to coffee.
Yeah.
No, I'm not telling anybody to do something
You
for me.
should.
I'm okay with where I'm at
You should be
right
like,
now.
hey, you should be like dancing with
They
the guy.
never
and be like,
approach you?
No,
Be
I'm
like, so
okay.
when you
They
gonna
never
take me to
approach you?
coffee?
Yeah, but it's not. I'm okay.
So if they
what I was
approach
saying
you,
was
would you
that
go
you
out
can
to
meet.
out to date with them? You said they approach you, right? They ask you out.
Mm-hmm.
Do
I
you
feel
accept?
like I feel like Nancy's play.
Do you accept?
She
What?
shuts down a lot of guys immediately.
Heartbreaker, huh?
Your
It's
energy.
not
It's your
like-
energy. It's your energy. That's what
So
it is.
see,
It's
the
not them
problem
actually
is not you're
asking.
not having men's attention
No, I'm
and
not.
interest.
Oh my God, you guys. I'm not
The problem is your standards are very high because of the social media age.
I don't think mine are.
I think there is. I think it is. Hey, I'll be
Stop.
honest. I believe, and my
Really?
wife's were more. Here was my saying. Here was always my saying. Is you know, I'm 100% confident. I think my wife got a catch when she married me. But I mean, she blessed,
She did.
blessed beyond
She
belief.
did. Yes.
But I had to show her that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to show her that. On the outside, you know, and I could name the guys that were her ex-boyfriends, and it would make your jaw drop.
Yeah.
I mean, your jaw would drop. You wouldn't believe who her ex-boyfriends
Yeah.
were. These, you know, we're talking Olympic gold medalists, we're talking Heisman Trophy winners, we're talking about LA Lakers guys. Like
Yeah.
they're there. I can name them. I can't go to a football game, basketball game, or whatever. This is 10 years ago because now we're all getting old. They're old in the sports scene. But 8 years ago, I could not go to a single professional match and not see a guy that either she's been on a date with, dated, or lived with before her saved years, right?
Yeah.
So that never intimidated me but these guys are all, I'm her first boyfriend that is under 6'4". I'm her first boyfriend that made less than $1 million a year. So that's where I go, okay, I get the 20%. You may throw me in the 20%. You could or not. I don't think
your
that,
confidence
right?
made up for your physical lack.
Okay.
Which is important.
So
It's important
that's why I
tenet.
think guys can play.
Yeah.
You can begin to play up.
Your confidence can make up
That's
for your
one
lack
hundred
of
percent.
physical.
That's why I encourage
and then
young
you're a
men
testament to that.
to build a plan,
Yeah.
to be confident, to
Work on
be
your
a leader,
confidence, yeah.
not be aggressive, not be insecure, not be small-minded, or think that
Yeah.
you know, oh, she's out there, she's gonna leave me. Like I never thought that when I met Ashlee, and I knew part of her past because I knew her mom and dad, and her mom and dad would share that. And then when I told my dad I want to ask her on a date, my dad said, "Not her," and I'm like, "Yes." He's like, "No, ask Tom Elliott's youngest daughter out, not Tom Elliott's oldest daughter." Because she's lived with guys and
I didn't know
they've been pro athletes. My
Yeah.
dad was so against it, not because he thought anything of her. He was just like, son, you're not going to be okay with like her past or whatever. And I was like, Dad, we've had one coffee date. I think her faith's authentic. I want to see where this goes. So I say that to say is that was a town hall that I met her in church, and then I began to move the ball forward. She was already at a point where she goes, every guy I've ever been with cheated on me. Every other guy had been
20%.
One guy had been abusive towards her physically, and all these things like that. So she began to say, "Let me be open-minded
Maybe you are average.
to see." Thank you.
So
Thank
let me
you.
go for
Isn't
an
that great,
80%
Kyle?
of what she
Let
said.
me help some people.
Let me
then.
go for an
Let me
average
help
guy.
Some young men
No,
then.
you're right.
I think there's
you're
another
dead right.
category.
Young men.
You're dead right.
Thank
You are
you.
I think
proving
there's
this.
Another category.
Yes, you are proving this point. Go on.
So am I changing your belief right now?
That you're not the 20%?
Yeah, that I'm in the 80.
Yeah, I think your confidence is was at such a god status that it brought you barely.
So how would you?
But I'm trying to
athletes,
so let me help some guys.
But athletes
Yeah,
are confident
how
too,
can
and
you
I
help
would
them then?
help some guys.
Yeah, how can you help 'em?
Because she did, but she has a great relationship with her father, who was a man of faith.
Correct.
So that
Yeah.
also played an
It
important
opened,
role for her.
so
For
many
sure.
factors, yeah.
There's a lot of factors that work towards it. Again, if those guys weren't the dirtbags that they were, it wouldn't have got her over. You know, even her mom, whom I love, and we have a great relationship. But back then, she wanted Ashlee to have that type of guy. That's something that they thought would be good for her. And so, you know, so to say there's a certain level that I think a man can step into the equation and be confident and have a plan and have leadership. And that's what I was willing to do with her, is I was immediately willing to listen to her. Like when we'd sit down, I just question and talk and let her talk and listen and everything like that. And then I'd start to, you know, after about our third date, she's like, "What do you think about all this?" And I'm like, "Here's the thing, I really like you. I think we should continue to hang out, and if 12 months we're still hanging out," because I told her I don't believe in girlfriends at that time. I didn't. So I said, "I will not make you my girlfriend. I only will take the jump to engagement to marriage. You're not my girlfriend. I'm not your boyfriend."
That's somebody with intentions, though. You
For
have
sure.
Intentions. Yeah.
So, but I think she gave me a chance to articulate that. She wasn't like, it's like we went to
A lot of
coffee.
men can't articulate that though.
But that's where I'm trying to help some men.
Yeah.
But you don't
Yeah.
know that yet because you haven't given the guy
That's
the
not
third, fourth
true.
date.
That's not true.
You haven't given the guy the 80% guy that
what-
was like us.
Tell us how far you
Like,
gave the
you
average
wouldn't-
man.
The
would've-
last two.
And
it was
why
probably 4 or
didn't
5
it
dates.
work
Oh,
out?
that's pretty-
which is very
and
generous.
No, you're right.
That's generous.
And why?
That's
What like
generous.
what were the?
It's generous. But were you
Yeah.
interested in
I
taking
don't
it to the
believe
next
Chelsea.
level?
I don't believe Chelsea.
It's very true. Very
And-
true.
and
The
what were the
last two
traits that
were about
made you
5
end
to
it?
7 dates.
Oh, that's
Because I'm sure
The
you
last one-
ended it right with them. Probably.
Yes.
Yeah,
the
you
last
ended it
one
with
was
them.
the
Okay.
female friendships.
I like your best. Are you going swimming after?
I can't. The last one was female friendships. They were too influential in his life. And,
Okay.
and he was like, they're not going anywhere. He made that very
Oh,
clear.
goofball.
So I said, that's that. and the
Goober.
and the
Goofy
two
goober?
girls.
Fail.
And the two girls were not believers. So I'm like, so that was already a
Yucky.
no. And then the other guy was, in fact, like, there was an infatuation with me that was just not flattering. So I was like this
We've
dream.
had a viral post about that.
Yes.
So I was like this dream infatuation, like, you know, and I don't want to be around a man that I impress. Like, oh my God. No, that's not
Yes.
attractive.
At all?
No. Not at all. I would want him to be at some point enamored by me, but if
Yeah.
it's like an infatuation and he's impressed by
Overboard.
my,
Well, you
No.
want them to be.
Because
you want them to
that
be in
means
love.
that means
You
he's
want them to
below
be in
you,
love.
and you want to marry above you,
100%.
above above where you're
100%.
at.
Like
yeah.
they're honored to be in my space. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't treat me like
my
that.
sister-in-law said that, and then even if I was with Ashlee, if I was just like, I can't believe you chose me. I can't.
Exactly. And that
you're,
was like-
you're so beyond my league.
Hey,
and
men,
you're so
men,
like,
take notes.
But I gave
this
it,
is
I
some
gave it 5 to
gold
7
here.
dates. I gave it 5 to 7 dates because I'm like, okay, maybe it's just nervousness. Maybe they'll get over it.
Yeah.
And it continued. I said, at a certain point, it's been 2-3 months, and you're still giving me this energy where you're impressed to be in my space. This is not it. This
I
is
believe
more
you.
like
you
a
can't leave
fan
me at that point.
than
And that was a
man.
good decision on your
Thank you.
part.
So those
I
last
believe
2,
you,
and I
Chelsea.
gave them 2 to 3 months.
I believe you.
Thank
now.
you.
I believe you now.
that was
Thanks
very,
for adding
that's very
context.
kind of. So I think part of this is.
And they were in the 80%, not the 20.
Oh.
Well, for him to act like that, he would have to be in the 80%.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's synonymous. Yeah.
I mean, mine,
It's a no-brainer.
That's why I'm consistently trying to tell. And there was I won't put it, but there was a young man who was interested in courting a girl here at the church. And so one of the advice that I tried to give him was you're a great package. You got a lot of great stuff going for you. You know, you got great job, great career, great everything. You're a catch for any girl. But you're going to have to step into confidence. Like that is what you're
that's
lacking.
huge.
Yeah.
And the
for
type
sure.
of girl that you're
For
trying
sure.
to, I remember one time I was talking to a young man who was shooting high, right? And I told him, bro, you're shooting high, for like the type of girl that you're going for, dude. Like you're consistently kind of trying to shoot for above your league. And he said, well, you did it with Ashlee. And I said,
yeah.
okay.
So this is
'Cause
your
she-
fault.
yeah.
I know. I said, okay.
You're inspiring.
Hold on. I said, okay, you're right. But if you want to get what I got in terms of, and I'm not just talking about Ashlee being a beautiful person. I'm talking about the package and who my wife is, right? My wife is silly, confident,
Right.
and
Personality-wise,
everything, great
yeah.
personality,
Athletic.
like all the great girls
Yeah.
that we have in our church, right? Athletic, passionate, adventurous, everything that you're looking for, right? And now great mom and all these other things like that. But if you're just talking about a straight beauty standard, that I'm here and I got a girl who was more beautiful than the standard that I would get normally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I say you're right, but you're missing out on some key factors that you can't measure unless you're willing to step into that space, because you're like inviting them to group hangouts and you're sitting on the other side of the table and her on the other side of the table.
No.
And you're thinking, when is she gonna, I wonder if I'll get 2 minutes to talk to her. No, why don't you take 2 minutes and talk to her, not
Yep.
get 2 minutes. Like, so there's a way. So I told him like you can't measure what the Lord had given me based off of just you swung high. And you've always said that, Adam, you swung high with her and you got her. And I'm like, yeah, but I also, it matched what she was looking for in the sense that I was confident. I had a plan. I had leadership. I wasn't playing any games like she had seen in the past.
Yep.
And so there's certain things she was looking for at the same time that matched with what I had the ability to offer, which was a faithful, committed guy who, if you tell Ashlee at the end of the day, what initially attracted you, Adam, she says his mind. That's what attracted me to him. He was different than any guy I'd been with. He cared about asking me questions and cared about my life. And if I told him that I loved this, next week he would, bring me around to something that I loved and all that kind of stuff like that. We first started dating. She told me she went to University of Florida, Gators, blah, 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 blah. Well, it happened to be like a soccer season, and I bought her a Florida Gator sweater it had like a pumpkin on it during fall, right? And it was like 3 weeks
charge.
of hang
You're
out.
taking control.
It's like, so that's where I'm
And
saying.
you're not having her guess whether or not. I think a lot of men
Yep.
they take so long, and it's like if we are 5 dates or 5 months into conversation, and I'm guessing if you like me, I'm immediately turned off. If you want
Yeah.
me, make it known, and you made it known early to
I think
Ashlee.
yeah, I had to. That was
Yeah.
that's prime person right there. Like
And
you're gonna miss out.
And that was
saying.
just a solid choice you made. It wasn't like this.
And I
oh
was
my gosh,
23 by the
fast.
way,
And
right?
you were
I was
20
young.
Oh wow.
You're only 23.
Yeah, we've been together 10 years.
Oh my
this year.
gosh.
So I was 23. I was a kid. So it's not like this is a mental state for a guy who's 31, 32.
Yeah.
You could be there at
yeah, you're
22,
right.
23.
You're
I mean,
right.
I mean, you know, like you could be a young man,
And
who
what was
that,
I?
You were
was
18.
And
you
I
were
was
19
younger
I
when
was
you met your
20.
wife.
I was 20 with no relationship experience.
You were 19.
And my wife was literally
no,
being
you were 20.
flown around the world by these sugar daddies. And she was, you know, she could have, like, similar to Ashlee, right? Similar to Ashlee, she could have had any guy that she wanted. If the social media age was what it was, oh, forget it. I wouldn't even have her. But she was in a similar sense, and this is what was that viral clip, was my focus on God and ministry and my purpose and my passion. She could tell that was above her. So it's like, I'm not obsessing over her like this guy was with you. I'm obsessing over God. I'm obsessing over my ministry. I'm obsessing over my passion. And I'm like, you either get on board or kick rocks.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly
And that's
attractive.
attractive. Yeah.
And, you know,
Yes.
you were in
And
similar...
you're not
That's
saying
attractive.
you're saying that in the perceptive purpose, not in the sense that you literally
Ignore
were like,
her.
hey, it was like you were
Yeah.
also obsessed with her.
we still had
a
a great
way.
Yeah, we still had
Yeah.
a great dating
Yeah.
relationship, and we built our relationship well. But it was like, it wasn't this like this
Oh, yeah.
simpish obsession.
When I dated
where-
Ashlee,
and that's a
yeah.
level of confidence though, because even though I didn't have your confidence towards women, I had a confidence in God. My confidence was in
vision.
God
Yeah.
and my purpose in life. And she saw that. And like you, she had been with men who were unfaithful. And so she said, she saw this average guy, but with a purpose and a passion for God. And she said, he's going to be faithful. I can have children with this man because he'll never leave me. He'll be faithful to me, and, you know, and he'll be secure. And so guys, average men, I think that's a great, those are great attributes. Confidence, confident in yourself, confidence who you are, confidence in your purpose, and then, you know, your faithfulness. You're going to be less tempted to cheat on her. Women, if you settle for average, that man most likely will be less likely to cheat on you.
Well, here's
and
the
that's
thing.
a positive.
You're talking most likely average in terms of appearance sake, because most of these guys who are quote unquote average are actually, you know,
Solid
fiscally responsible, financially responsible. They're great, come from great families a lot of times. They, you know, there's just certain great things about them. Like they're great, like with their hands. They're brilliant in other areas, but you know, very too often you are, and I hear it. My wife was that. Every one of my wife's family members was like, the conversations around her when we were getting ready to be engaged was, so legitimately, you think this is a joke? So you're going to be okay that your kids may never be over 6 feet because he's not over 6 feet. You're good with, like, Adam doesn't have a six pack or anything like that. Like, are you going to be tempted with other men? You know, who have, like, family and friends are legitimately coming to her, and women prior, like, they knew it was getting serious, but it was basically like, let me try. And every criticism was a physical feature. Nothing about my character. Nothing.
Right.
And those were women who were bringing those concerns to her, not men. Her father was like, dude, Adam's the man. Like, you know, he cried.
It's funny,
you know,
they
like,
say men are visual creatures,
you know, like,
but women are also pretty visual, especially in the beginning, like
For
what
sure,
initially
for sure,
attracts
for
them.
sure. Yeah.
Women can be just as visual, if not more so.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh,
in today's
yeah.
day and age, social media.
And I can
Oh,
only
if he's
speak from my
bald?
experience.
Oh, forget that.
Yeah.
If he's not at least
That's
6
a
foot,
thing.
swipe.
Yeah.
So don't tell me women aren't visual creatures.
Yes. So that's what was happening. So, and then, you know, some guys would ask me sometimes, like, dude, does it bother you that they say that? I'm like, listen, bro, if she did not choose to be with me, it is her loss. Like I'm so good with who I am. Like, I'm not perfect, but I'm so good with who I am.
Yeah.
If she chooses, hey, Adam, sorry, I'm gonna have to end it because, you know, you don't make $500,000 a year. You know, I'm gonna have to end it because I don't want my kids to be less than 6. I'd be like, okay.
So let me ask
Like,
you this:
all right.
for men that are struggling with their confidence, and obviously you're a very confident man, do you think that's a nurture or versus nature, or is that something that can be cultivated? Confidence in men.
Yeah,
What would
sure
you say?
it
Like,
can,
hey,
yeah.
this is how you can. Do you stand in the mirror and you're like, Adam is da da
Yeah.
da? Like, what are things that men can do to improve their confidence in themselves?
Yeah.
Get physically fit, go
not
to the
be-
gym. That's one. A strong body will also produce a strong mind.
So
That's an easy one.
Be active, physical.
Yeah,
activity. Okay.
that's that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a
I think
start.
physical activity is a big part of it. Obviously, I'm on the tail end of my season, so the physical activity, it should be as much of a push, but we've talked about it before. But like, I have my wife, I have my family.
Right.
So that's where
Yeah.
men tend to lean back. But let's just say I'm a single man, right? You know, yes, being physically active is huge for confidence, not just trying to appear. It's big for confidence. Having a purpose for your life is big. Like for me, that's what it was, because being with my wife or not was not going to change my purpose and my direction in life. So would I be open to detouring or doing some if I met her? And we talked about it before. We
Building a
thought she
business.
wanted to be a gym owner, and so I helped everything. So yeah, you know, but my purpose was satisfied. Like, hey, I'm going to be a pastor. I'm going to school. I'm finishing these things. I had a marketing company. Like, I'm going to do these things with or without her. So therefore, I was confident in my push, my drive, my plan. I think other men, you need to be in community with other men. That helps with your confidence, because then when you're living in community and you're living confident with community and you have friends and you have a purpose, you have an identity, then you're less lonely, you're less depressed, you're less anxious. That's where I think a lot of the stuff happens to young men nowadays is they're very lonely, they're very anxious.
Yep.
They're on TikTok and Instagram and they're comparing themselves to these top G guys. Like, well, I'm not that. I'm not, you know, I don't make 7 figures. I'm not, 9 feet tall. Well, look at this guy. Look at Andrew Tate with his shirt off. That's not like me. But then they become fans of those guys thinking that their level of stature will rub off on them, but that messes with their mind, right? So I talk about confidence for these young men or single men is like, you need to be confident in the way God created you and the purpose God has given you. And you have to begin to start making some decisions for your life. So some of the things we've talked about, like with other young men, is like, if you need to get to a place, especially if you're from a single mother home, you have to get to a place where you move out of your mom's home. It's one thing, two parents. It's one thing if it's two parents and like the family structures, your mom isn't so dependent on you. But if you're a young man and you come from a single mother home and you're still with your mother, and I'm not talking about you're with your mother at 19, 20 or whatever. I'm talking about you're an adult man. If you're still with your mom, there may be a dependency that your mom has on you and you have on your mom that is affecting your confidence. You're bringing, like I would talk to it before. I'd talk to young men and they're like, well, let me go talk to my mom. And I'd be like, you're 29. You do not need to go talk to your mom like that. So that messes with their confidence.
I've had
right?
some moms come up to me for their sons.
Right. Big,
wow.
Yes.
Hey,
And
let's,
dads.
and it's one thing if it's just like, I would love to introduce you to my son. It's
No.
another thing to say, my son is very shy
100%,
and
right.
I
Listen,
can I have
women-
your number to give it to my
women,
son? Like,
women. Stop dating men living with their moms. Don't. We need to do this for men to get them out of their mom's house. Stop.
Yes, if they
don't have a purpose,
if there's
if they're not saving a lot of money,
right,
or
yeah.
if there's not a purpose, if they're not putting a lot of money away in savings, and they're just mooching off their mom, women, stop.
Well, and here's what it looks like sometimes is, my mom can't do this alone, and so
Right.
I'm helping her. Well, that's where I encourage,
Yeah,
man,
that's
well, give it to your mom and,
Yeah.
and try to send her $400, $500 a month. But for you and for the help, because I'll tell you right now, if you meet the girl and you marry her, your girl does not want you to have the level of relationship with your mom you currently have right now.
You'll
You know,
turn
don't want a second
turn
wife,
into his mom.
Yeah, so there's certain dynamics that can be unhealthy with it, which is where I encourage. And we're talking about almost 50% of young people nowadays come from single parent households. So I think you have to work that through. I'm not giving the blanket, but it messes with your confidence 100%. Like if you're 29 years old and you have a good job and your mom is still doing your laundry, your mom's still doing everything for you, she still makes your dentist appointment, she still she still does, she goes get your car.
Are women
DMV
even dating men like that, though?
I don't think so, but we're talking about
talking
them
about
finding confidence. So I'm saying
I'm just
all
wondering,
that deals with.
you're right.
I mean,
Yeah, they
Are
I think
women?
some
Would women date a man living with his mom?
I think it depends on the circumstance.
Yeah.
It depends on the circumstance.
But I'm saying that in the sense of not in the
Confidence.
date, like all those things affect your confidence, and so start making decisions to not. You don't have to move out of mom's, but just be like, hey mom, like I'm making my own appointments for now on. hey mom, I'll start cooking for you at least 3
Taking
times
out
a
the
week.
trash,
You know,
doing certain
how
things.
about I'll start give me the electricity and gas bill. I'll cover it. Like start
That's
stepping into confidence and adulthood. And for me, that's the one thing I would say that was unique. Like I couldn't wait to be independent, and part of it was probably the strict Christian household I was in. But like when I moved out at 18, when I was 22, I moved back in with my parents for 1 month. And I moved out and I lived with my brother
And also,
Nathan and split
single
bills,
moms
like,
need to
you
hear
know.
this. Single moms need to hear this. Your sons, your 30-year-old sons, they're not your husbands.
Right.
They're not your husbands.
And you have to
okay?
make that differentiation in your
So,
mind, you know.
You need to be encouraging them to get out. And
Yeah.
if you really love them, okay, because it's not good for their
confidence.
just
their own
growth in
development.
life,
Yeah.
development, that you're allowing them to just mooch
How
off
did
of
we
you in
get
that
to
way.
2 hours? How does this
We
happen?
got into
How
the
does this happen?
relationship talk.
Oh, that was good single stuff.
But I'll say this
know.
too in regards to confidence,
I was
men.
sweating.
You know, like
I was sweating.
get involved in a hobby, get involved in an interest, get involved in salsa
Yeah,
dancing and
we
meet
weren't done.
Nancy.
Oh
get
my
involved,
goodness.
Get involved.
Where's your
and-
salsa
No,
dancing place
I
at?
want to say this. I want to say this for the average man. Get off the apps because the majority of these apps, they're bots anyways. And so for the average
Bots.
man, get off the apps. Because a lot of times you're dealing with some bot in India or it's just some random AI that you think is a woman that's reaching out. She ain't reaching out to you. That's a bot or that's an AI. And you need to get out of the dating apps, get out into the real world, get an interest, get a hobby, come to church, meet women at
Huge.
church.
Huge.
So get social. Get social. Get
Yeah.
a social status. Get friends. Get other men. Especially if you don't have positive male
Well,
role
here's the
model.
biggest
Surround yourself with men.
mind transformation I would say for the young man. On top of what you're saying is, but value marriage. Like see that it is good for your life. Because a lot of them are going like, yeah, I'll leave and I'll go date a girl, and then they're taking him on 9 dates with Chelsie, and then she's going, "What is this?" And he's like, "I'm having fun, aren't you?" You know, like it's like come to a realization that marriage is not the enemy in 2023, because that is what's perceived nowadays because of divorce rates and other things like that. And so a lot of people just aren't even getting married anymore. They're just living together. And you just look at the statistics of what living together is. I mean, it's really bad for children when you're just living together, boyfriend and girlfriend. Just look up their developmental phase in relationships
Well,
and how
that's
that
an
pans
important
out.
men's rights
And so,
activist conversation because that's nuanced. Now, I'm not against marriage, but for men, we do need to look out for our best interest as men, and we need to be wise in regards to I'm not against waiting long to marry. I'm actually not against it in our society and with our court system the way it is, because when I marry, I'm marrying the woman. I'm not marrying the state, because a lot of times the men are screwed. Now, this isn't every case, but men really need to research and I'm not because I've never been divorced, so I'm not entirely knowledgeable about, but I hear testimonies how the court system is against the man in regards to divorce. And so men need to make sure they do their research. And even like if it's in your financial best interest in mind, I think it's okay just to marry between you and God and the pastor and not get a state certificate if that goes against your best interest. Now, it's for tax reasons and all of these if you calculate that risk benefit ratio, okay, I need this certificate from the state, then I'm going to get married with the state. But if the state really is against the man in divorce,
outside of the certificate, we'd have to ask a lawyer. There's still grounds if you live together and you have assets together, because you're still going to do that.
Right.
So,
but I'm just saying that's a real important conversation being had in the men's rights community, and I'm not entirely certain of it, but I just hear testimony, so I acknowledge it because there's a lot of heartache from men, which I'm sympathetic to. And that, they're divorced and their wife marries the boyfriend that she was screwing, and he comes moving in his house and he's now living in an RV, living in his van. His children are taken away from him. These are very real stories that keep men from wanting to marry under the state. Now, I agree. As a Christian, we encourage lifelong commitment, through sexual relations and through and so in that mindset through marriage under
yes,
God,
through marriage,
but
yes.
it's important you distinguish between
well,
that.
Who cares about that?
A lot of people should
but we're
care.
talking about dating.
No, a lot of people should
marriage.
care because a lot of men kill themselves because they got screwed through a divorce. So it is important. It's an important conversation to be had.
Sure.
When you're talking about why men are cautious to enter a
Men
marriage
aren't
in today's
for that
day
reason.
and age.
But they're not. They don't know that. They've never been married.
That's what I'm saying.
I've never met a young man who's like nowadays. Like the dude's worth $12. He's not thinking about that. So if you're just saying think about that in the long run, okay. But in terms of men who are going on 9 dates and have no commitment level, that's where I'm saying a young man has to get to a place to say marriage is beautiful. It's sacred. It's given by God. There is health behind marriage, a healthy marriage.
Yeah.
Is it corruptible? Do they go bad? Yes. But people who have baby daddies and baby mamas, that goes bad too. And guys lose their life over baby mommies and baby daddies.
Yeah.
We're pro life.
I'm just saying you shouldn't be quick to get married. You shouldn't be quick to get married in this day and age, especially when. Especially like when I say married.
I don't know what you mean
when
by
I
quick
say
to be married.
When I say married, I mean like under the state. A man should not be quick to get married without calculating the cost. You buy life insurance and you don't want to foresee yourself getting killed at an early age. And so it's all about insuring yourself as a man. Especially the average man, because the average man can be duped more than a man with more options. The average man will just settle for any woman that'll give him the time of day.
Yeah.
And so he needs to especially calculate the cost of marriage under the
so
state.
should women. So should women.
Yeah.
So should a woman that agrees to be a stay-at-home mother.
But we're talking
for
about
16 years.
We're talking about
and
why
gets divorced and has no work.
Men
why
men are in this day and age don't want to commit to marriage, and there's a legitimate reason because of the state trying to get their dirty, rotten fingers into their life and ruin their life.
I've never met a single guy that articulated that
court
before.
system.
I've seen TikToks of it, but I've never met a young man who says, I'm not going to ask
people
married
who haven't been married before think about that stuff.
Oh, they are. Young men are thinking about. They have for decades now why men don't get married and just live in with their girlfriend. That's the reason, because they don't.
No, it's
they
not.
don't want to. They don't want to get.
reason.
That's a reason. It's not the reason. For you to say that a man, that one reason why a man would put off marriage under the state is because of the potential of the divorce taking it away a lot of his life. For you to say that men aren't
but that
currently
can still
thinking
happen if you
about
have
that.
kids.
That's not a deterrent.
No, I'm saying men need to think about it.
Because even if you have kids, they all have kids. It
they-
still
but
takes away their thing.
They need to
the
think
woman
about
can still
it, though.
take their stuff.
I think they don't get married because they already get all the access that a marriage would give. I don't think it has anything to do with the legal
you're
stuff
right.
like that.
No,
I know
it's
so many
also
couples
legal.
that have kids, and
It's
I go, why
also
don't you guys
legal.
get married? Oh, we don't see the point. We don't see the point. We bought a house together. We're living together. We have kids together. What's the point of marriage?
Yeah, what is the point?
Because there's still liability. You're in a domestic partnership. You could still, if you guys separate, you could sue them for half the house. You can still do all kinds of stuff, and it was never a marriage certificate in the first place.
Yeah, but I know, but the
point
I'm just
is
saying that is a really concern that men need to be aware of. That's all I'm saying. Don't be. I'm saying that's
I'm
why.
not going to make my son aware of
That's why-
that level of stuff. That just not. That ain't going to be me. Like, I'm not.
That's fine.
Matthias, come here. Let me tell you, like, you should really think about before you want to get married that girl's going to take all your money. Like, I think that's a little naive. I think that's a little dumb.
Well, I'm not saying say it like that. I'm not saying say it like that.
You're saying it right now like that on the podcast. That's advice to young men.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying consider
Is that how it comes off?
No, I'm saying consider it. I'm saying consider it.
Okay.
Well, listen.
But it's how it comes off.
Okay.
So I think it's bad advice to the level that it is.
It's called wisdom. It's called wisdom. It's called wisdom to consider it. To really think through.
Not in the approach that you're making it.
To really
I don't
think
think that's
through,
wisdom.
it's called
I think that's
wisdom.
pessimism.
No, it's not pessimism. It's wisdom. It's wisdom.
I think it's cynical pessimism.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
what do you do with
cynical
the
pessimism.
information?
It's
What does
wisdom.
the consideration
I think
actually
it is.
result in? You make that consideration as a young man, and then do what next? If I'm following your advice, that's
prenup?
To
Is that
properly
what you're
discern,
alluding to?
no, it's to properly discern and navigate
You're
the
gonna prenup
relationship
when you have
that you're in.
$1,000 in your bank account.
Right,
'Cause
no
most,
assets.
The average
most are going
24-year-old
into the
guy is like,
relationship
you
with
know,
a ton of
assets.
assets.
But that
you know.
right, of course, and I would make that.
So what
distinction.
consideration do you make?
I'm saying consider. I'm saying I don't know the divorce system. I only hear from testimonial experiences that it's a real legitimate issue that happens, that the divorce system is set up against the man and favoring the wife. And so a man
Sure.
needs to be aware of that. That's all I'm
But
saying.
how?
aware and
What's going to
choose
change?
wisely.
Don't accuse me of something that
But
I'm
how's
not
it going to?
saying.
What's going to change?
Well,
I'm
for
24
one,
years old.
choosing
What
the right woman? Is that
consideration? What does she need to exhibit to show me that in 15 years we're not going to get a divorce?
Because-
how can I decide? How can I discover that at 23?
I'm saying he needs to be aware of it. I'm saying he needs
what
to
way?
consider it. And I'm saying he needs to be more discerning of the partner that he's with. Take everything into consideration. Take everything that's
what
going
signs?
on.
What are signs that she's gonna either you or her are gonna get a divorce in 15 years? Like, what are the signs?
There's a lot of signs that I would sit down and talk to my boys about. Just as I would sit down with Ariel and talk about signs about a trash man that she would get with and characteristics of a trash man that could potentially destroy her life. I would say the same thing with my boys who would marry a trash woman that would destroy their life and cause them to kill themselves because of a
Like?
divorce.
Like?
And sleep with their boyfriend and kick them out of the house and live in an RV and
Like?
take away their kids. I'm
Like?
saying, be aware of it.
But what? But
Read the book of Proverbs. Read the book of Proverbs. Why is this controversial? It's like basic relational wisdom.
not- yeah.
Read the book of Proverbs. What does an ungodly woman
saying
look like?
be wary
What
of
does
who
an
you
ungodly
marry
man
is
look
fine
like?
advice.
What does an ungodly man look like? What does an ungodly woman look like?
So ungodliness is the prerequisite. We're talking about Christian marriage.
And I'm talking about ensuring yourself.
We've already talked about
I'm
make
talking
sure they
about
have Christian
ensuring yourself.
values. But we already talked about that. So my advice to say a
How
young
is
man
this-
who's not making a marriage
How
commitment.
is this basic conversation that's happening in real life towards millions of divorced people and that many men are considering basic wisdom? How is this rocket science? You listeners, you decide. I feel like I'm talking common sense, but it's like, okay, this is rocket science. Caleb is crazy. There aren't men whose lives are
think
being
you're-
destroyed,
no, I don't think you're
who are
crazy, but I
killing
think-
themselves.
I don't think you're crazy.
Who are moving in with their
No.
boyfriends, their kids are being taken away from them. I'm just saying, be aware that this happens and be aware that
Yeah,
the
so
court
at
system
23,
may not
don't
be
say
in
my
your
wife might
favor.
have
Wait, that's
40.
where I'm getting to. I don't think
That's
it's
all I'm
crazy,
saying.
but when you're
That's all I'm saying.
initially,
It's
most people's
insurance.
first-
It's
but-
ensuring your
but-
future.
How do you
helping
ensure
you
You
that?
can't ensure.
That's the weirdest thing
having-
I've ever heard.
I think
by not
a
being
lot of people-
gullible, by understanding.
But not everybody's entering a relationship with that many
Gullible.
assets, having to consider that conversation. Now, if you are later in life and you
Yeah, I agree
acquire
with
all
you.
of these assets,
I agree with you.
then I think it's like, and you're not married, then that's the conversation.
I agree with you.
These women might be coming after your assets, but if you're talking to a 22, 23-year-old dude sitting there having that conversation and he has $2,000 to his name, I think that it's
Which is what we were talking about.
Irrelevant conversation, I think.
No,
We were talking about the age like in which you're not like super studious ones
Well,
of okay, I'm 35.
the
we were
reason-
talking about someone 22 to 28. Like
Yeah,
the
and-
advice for
and-
dating, like
and-
that's not the advice that I would lead in.
Maybe
and
they
we're
don't
go-
want to get married because they're not financially secure. Maybe they don't want to get married because there are a number of reasons why
Then don't
they
date.
may not
Then don't
want to
date.
commit. No, you should still date because you need that experience of the opposite sex. You need to know how to treat a woman, how to treat a man. You need to have those experiences with the opposite sex. So you still should
Not
date.
go on dates.
Even
I'm
if
talking
sure
about
you should.
Being a
Okay,
dating
so
No,
you
you
think-
should still
you
go
think
on
you should go
dates.
on 8 dates with Chelsea and then say, I don't know what this is. You would give a young man that advice. He
No,
says, oh,
absolutely
I'm going on my
not.
8th date with
that
Chelsea.
would be a beta. That would be my definition of a beta.
That's what we're talking about
that
right now, Caleb.
Doesn't okay?
We're talking about those guys.
So this average man Okay,
Who took her on 7 dates.
Well, then I
And
went
she's
on a
wondering,
rabbit
what
trail.
is
Then
this?
I went on a rabbit trail.
Yeah, a little
okay,
bit.
okay. So let's bring it back to this then, because that was a rabbit trail. Okay,
That's why I was going
so-
hard on you because
hours
we're not
later.
over there. We're over
But
here
I don't
right
understand
now.
how an average man, right, being with you for 8 dates would be like, oh, boy, I don't know what to do.
He did though.
Really?
He does.
Yeah.
She just gave the testimony.
Dang.
Not saying like I don't know what to
I'm
do,
sure
but
Nancy
having
can
no
go in her
plan.
Rolodex of guys who have
Yeah.
done that. You know, like I just
have a
don't want to be
Rolodex.
disrespectful and say
Well,
that.
it's one thing
you
to
know,
say,
like,
"Duh, I don't know what to do," and it's another thing to be like, "Hey, this woman's giving me what I want. Why would I commit?" Right? I mean, this woman's
Correct.
giving me she's having sex with me. She's
we're talking about
that's-
we're talking
she's
about
like,
Chelsea.
why would I marry her?
But
Definitely
again,
not
we
me.
have a practical
Yeah.
example right in front. We're not creating tangents of fake
Oh, no, I'm
people.
not talking
I'm not
about
talking
her.
about Nancy.
I'm talking about
over here.
This is another
But I'm
reason
saying
why
we're talking
young men
to
don't
Nancy.
commit, because
I'm
the
sa-
women are giving
no,
them everything.
But I'm saying
That's
we're
not-
talking about Chelsea.
okay,
We're talking about Chelsea.
okay.
I don't know why you keep creating like fake people. Like we're talking about one person who has this one
Well,
testimony.
In general.
who's
But I
like,
appreciate
Hey,
your stance
if you're gonna
for
give
men,
me, if you're
though.
gonna give me the milk,
We'll say that.
but she's
I'm
not.
not giving anybody milk.
no, I'm not talking about you.
But we are talking.
A milkshake
But I like
brings
to,
the boy to
but
the
it's
yard.
bringing up a good
That's
conversation to
not- that's
cover
not what we
all
hear.
of these
But
scenarios.
we're not.
We're not
I don't
giving
want a
milkshakes
tangent.
away.
We're talking
I'm not.
about
No,
the
I'm
boys.
not. I don't
No
know
milk
about
here.
your personal life. I do.
No milk
Hey,
here.
I do not know about their
No
personal lives. Just so
milk.
you all know, I'm not talking about them.
Yeah, no. We
I am just using this as like tangents to be like, well, this happens, this happens, this happens,
But we
this happens.
could do with everything you've said. We've said at least 30 other podcasts before. You didn't say anything new today that hasn't been said on our podcast before.
Yeah, but repetition is the mother of all learning.
Exactly. Okay, great. But we're not trying to talk about something we've hashed out before with secular people and people not in the church and people in the church who don't
Okay,
take it serious.
okay.
We're talking to the point was originally you girls, what's going on in your space? What are you
All right,
guys seeing?
man.
What's going on with you? And we've gone well
This is
over
the
2
longest
hours.
podcast
That's
we've
why-
ever had.
That's why we're gonna end this thing.
Yeah.
But
Serenity
that was the
now.
point. So hopefully,
Serenity now.
hopefully we maybe have helped some young men.
I think so.
I want to know
what we've
why.
done.
I want
I
to
don't
know
know
why
what we've
this
done.
guy.
He's,
I don't know
he's
what-
blown away.
Why did
right
he
now.
commit to you?
Mystery to me.
So he dumped you. You didn't dump him.
No. I dumped.
Because he wasn't progressing the ball down the court. It was like, yeah, what we're doing, it's
No,
fine,
the last
right?
guy was
It's
because
fine,
of the
right?
female relationship. So one before that was because it was multiple dates, and I'm sitting here what are we
going on?
doing?
Yeah.
And he didn't have a plan for it.
Okay,
So
we're just,
I
I'm
was
having
like,
fun.
right.
I don't have
Now,
time.
here's what I
All
would
right.
do.
Yeah.
If I was on my 6th date and I was just like, hey, I'm honest, I think you're great and I'm having fun with you, but I respect you so much that when I make a commitment, I want it to be real. And so there's still some other things that I'm
Yeah,
looking for.
that's good.
I said that to the front end with Ashlee. By our 3rd date, I said, here's some things that are important to me. What's important to me is that you actively go to church and you actively serve at church. I believe any girl that I should be with would serve in church. Is that something that's in your heart? Is that something you see yourself doing? Because she had just become a member again at ALFC, and she was like, no, I really have a heart to serve. Like, I would tell her, this is what's important to me. Does that red flag you at all? Is that something you don't see yourself doing? And I think if a man or a woman have that should be articulated more on the front end of like, what are you looking for? What's important to you? But it seems like this guy was like, no, I think you're great. This is fun, right? Like, when do we get our first kiss? When do we get, it's like, it's just more, I'm just in it to say I have a relationship. I'm in it to say I have a boyfriend.
And he
That's
was
where-
average
that's
guy.
where-
He wasn't a 20%er.
No, he wasn't. 20.
That's where I say, like, encourage, like, men, like, if you're a Christian man, if you're going to date, you have to come to the consolidation of marriage is on the table. And when I find the right girl, I will push into marriage. That needs to
Did you
come
tell him
now,
that?
that could
Did
be
you
in the
tell him
course
your
of 2
The art
years,
of
3
making a
years.
Did you tell him
decision.
your
like,
concerns?
Make a choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was aware of
Yeah.
my concern from the first date. Not necessarily my concern, but my expectation from the first date. Like, I don't just date to, for the sake of it. If we're multiple dates in, I'm looking at, like, where is this leading? Because I'm date for the intention of marriage. Now, he couldn't come to the table with his dating intentions at all. So I'm like, what are we doing here? You don't know what you want. You're not ready. Like, why are you even taking me out on dates? I don't have time to waste.
And he was just like, all right.
Yeah, he just a lot,
Bye.
and that's why when Pastor Adam was talking about he was able to communicate, to Ashlee where he was at. it's not that I'm not giving men the opportunity to communicate. They don't know how. So I would say for that guy, he didn't know how to communicate where he was at, what he wanted, and where he wanted to be. And that was my issue.
No, that's good. Good for you. Good for you.
Goober.
Good for you.
I think that's great, but I'm trying to help. But
I'm trying to help men.
But that other guy could have left going like, man, I really liked her. I was crazy about her. What could I have done differently? Like, that's all I'm trying to offer is like, here's what you could have done differently, is been aware how the ball gets progressed down the court.
And
I'm not saying it has to be done in 12 months like it did with me. I'm just saying you got to know how, and I've told every man who has a girlfriend that, know how the ball gets down the court.
We don't want to push the ball down the court, and I think that's what if I ever feel like I'm the one doing it, I'm immediately, no, you're supposed to be leading this, and I feel like you're blind right now. And so until I feel like you can see.
So did he have marriage potential if he would have took control of the relationship more?
Yeah, 100%.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust.
And that was an easy. That was.
Yeah, he could have slam dunked it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like many of us guys who hang
See,
in
that's
that,
why that was an easy miss.
Many of us guys who hang in the 80%,
and that's 80%.
It's possible. You know, it's possible to get the girl of your dreams. You just gotta play in, gain some confidence, have a plan, be passionate about some things, shoot some shot. And if you get denied, you get denied. Yeah,
That's
cool.
okay.
Hey, all right, let's move on.
There's somebody
if you're
there for
one of the
everybody.
9 that's been denied by Chelsie, it's okay. It's okay. You know, we good. Bounce back. You know.
Come back, baby.
That's
Come
terrible.
back.
That's it. That's it.
This turned into a riveting, wonderful conversation.
Riveting, Jermaine, riveting.
Wow.
Listen, I just recently did I recently did a wedding for someone young that's a millionaire, and he was like, "Hey, I think I want to do a prenup," and I just was like, "You do whatever you have to do to whatever money you've come in with in this relationship. You do whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
you know."
That's different.
He's a young man. I definitely I'm a proponent of counting the cost, but you know. 21-year-old bro, just get,
Watch out
you know,
for your
by
assets,
24, if you still going
your
on,
phone.
you know, a date.
That's the only asset we're talking about.
Not
This
even
is
the phone,
just
there's
going to go
payment
on and on
plans.
because I got so many more thoughts, but
Me too.
very passionate about this subject.
But hey, if your woman
I
is
had
giving you
another
sex,
question,
why
but-
marry?
Well, that's a fact, and we've talked about that a million times. That's just, you know, and even Christian girls do that, and you know, it's not smart.
But
It's
it
not
is
wise.
also important though that that a woman has genuine desire for her man. So even if she's not having sex with you, it's important that you discern that she wants to have sex with you.
Well, yeah, and that's
there's
exhibited in many
attractiveness.
ways, for sure.
A physical
Oh, for sure.
attractiveness. Yeah.
Well, you'd be surprised. No, so you'd be surprised.
What did he say?
Done. God bless. This is the longest podcast
Man, make
we've
sure
ever
your women
done.
are
So
all over you.
If anybody made it this far,
Hey,
if anyone made it this far in the
Bless your
podcast,
soul.
DM the
Yeah.
podcast and
DM us on IG.
we'll get you a sticker. Okay?
Oh, let's
How about
go.
that? If you're local to us, I won't ship
And man,
it. but-
make sure your woman
'Cause we got people
desires
listening to
you
us all
more than you
over.
desire her.
Our team
But if you
will-
live locally to our team, if you make it this far in the podcast, DM us, say you made it. We'll get a sticker to you.
Come
you
in
know?
person.
Yeah, Nancy will get it. God bless you for making it 2.5 hours.
Oh.